few invented Bitcoin.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Sunday, July 1st, 2018. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination episode 1047.
This is No Agenda.
Guarding your reality all across Gitmo Nation, and that includes Canada. And broadcasting live from the capital Drone Star State here in downtown Austin, Tejas in the Cludio in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where I'm organizing a 700-city protest to stop the war in Vietnam. Get out of Vietnam. I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
And we're back in 2018. You okay? A little flashback?
Stop the war.
Is that what it was like to you when you watched it yesterday?
All the 700-city protests you're talking about?
Yeah, it didn't seem like it was quite as big as previous marches we've seen. Is that just my perception?
It seems a little bit dubious that they had him at all.
Yeah.
I have two reports. Well, I mean, they're bitching about Trump's no-tolerance policy, which he ended 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but the march was planned. The permits were done. You know, the donation websites were up to chip in. Everybody was ready.
It seemed a bit much to me. So I think also we might as well just start re-protesting the war in Vietnam.
Okay, now I get you. Right.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I thought you'd get it right away.
No, it took me a second. I flipped on the telescreen and I surfed around. I saw way too many commercials. That was my first clue. Like, man, this is not as big as it was intended to be, or what they thought it might be. MSNBC was, they even didn't carry everything live continuously. They came back to in-studio stuff, so it was, it's hard to tell.
Because it's dumb.
Well,
so if I was an editor, one of these guys at the news, let's play the CPS reports. I got two of my summary. Oh, not summary. Which one is this? Protests. I got the wrong clips lined up to discuss. Where are these clips? Crazy March. There it is. Yeah.
It was obvious. Crazy March.
Yeah, well,
Crazy March, baby. Yeah.
So here, if I'm the editor, I'm going to say the following. Here's what I would
Now, you're the editor of what? Of MSNBC, the news desk?
No, this is CBS.
Oh.
If I'm one of these guys that are executive editors or editors, I'd say, okay, here's what we want to do. First of all, who exactly organized the 700-city protests?
March On organized it. Who
is March On?
It's the same organization. It's the DNC. It's the same organization that organized the Kids Against Guns March. And if you click on the donate link in the chip,
I'm going to just tell you right now that nobody ever mentions this group.
Well, that's
Secondly,
weird.
Why doesn't somebody? Well, I'm talking about the CBS people. And then why doesn't somebody go to the head of March On and say, "Hey, what are you protesting?" Well, we're protesting Trump's no tolerance policy, zero tolerance. Well, why are you doing that? Because he canceled it like over a week ago, and then there's a judge in California that also chimed in to make it so there's none of this can go on anymore. So what are you protesting?
Well, to vote Democrat. It was a fundraising drive and an awareness campaign for people to vote for Democrats.
There's a lot of violence, by the way, in this thing. But let's go to Crazy March.
And we begin tonight with the massive nationwide protest against the president's immigration policy. Tens of thousands of protesters in more than 700 demonstrations like this one in Chicago, in cities and towns from coast to coast, in every state, urging President Trump to reunite the families separated at the southern border, part of the fallout from his zero-tolerance immigration policy. We start with ABC's Kenneth Moten in Washington, D.C.
Tonight, a resounding chorus from coast to coast.
Coast to coast.
Tens of thousands of people demanding an end to President Trump's zero-tolerance.
Yeah, I like the coast to coast.
It's ABC, by the way, not CBS.
Okay, coast to coast.
There's all the same on all the networks.
People demanding an end to President Trump's zero-tolerance immigration policy that at one point resulted in the separation of families at the border. They rallied in the nation's capital.
I understand rules, I understand process, I understand all that, but this is about children.
Marched across the Brooklyn Bridge, filled plazas and...
This cadence that he's using could easily be the troops moved across to the front lines, and there they saw saw the enemy, and there it was with the horrible battle. It's a total World War II, cinema scope. What was the newsreel? What was that called? Polygon.
March of the News or something like
that. Polygon News. Yes, you could see what was happening.
But this is about children.
Marched across the Brooklyn Bridge.
About children.
Plazas in Boston, Chicago, and Los Angeles, holding signs that read, "Close the detention centers," and "Children don't belong in cages." This young girl's handwritten message simply says, "Families belong together."
I think children belong on leashes. What do you think?
I think so for sure.
I think that would be the solution right there. Just as an entremont, I'm going to play the ACLU ad that played during some of this reporting. Here we go.
It all started when Donald Trump tore thousands of immigrant children away from their parents.
I love this. Donald Trump. He tore.
Donald Trump himself.
This whole ad.
That's what she said.
Yeah, the whole ad is like this. That's what's so interesting about it. It is completely focusing on Donald Trump ripped him.
It all started when Donald Trump tore thousands of immigrant children away from their parents. We the people challenged him in court and in the streets. Then Trump was forced to admit that his policy was wrong, and he caved. The court just ruled that Trump must reunite every family he broke apart. Time is ticking. These children must see their parents again, and they're counting on us to act quickly.
That's not exactly what the court said, but, okay. The court didn't say,
lies.
You must reunite the children.
He was lying to the public.
Yeah, and taking money. Not mine.
What network are you on, by the way?
Oh, I don't know where. I think I got that from MSNBC. That's my network.
No, what network are you on?
I'm on the good one. I'm on the regular, not the 5G. Why am I cutting out on you?
Well, that clip did.
Oh, I could just be
anyway,
Skype
the point
freaking
is
out.
Well, it's Trump. Yes, get out the vote is really what's going on here. But I wonder how many people, because if you listen to that report we just played, and I'll play part 2 of it in a second, crazy march, you have to wonder how many people in the march actually have any knowledge of the fact that the march is futile. It's stupid. It's
here's what I saw a lot of white people marching. I really was looking at the coverage, and I saw predominantly white people marching for this.
I'll back you up on that, because locally it was the same thing. It's mostly white people, and mostly young white people
and children,
and the locals who have no interest in children whatsoever.
They don't want any.
They're all atheists. They hate kids.
They got dogs. They don't care.
They got dogs. They hate kids, but there they are. Yeah, Trump stinks.
I'll just play this one clip. The MSNBC. So they played this clip, I think, with the star of the show, of the D.C. speeches. And there were lots of stars. John Legend out there singing his heart out. Everybody else singing for the kids in the cages. And this little girl gets up who clearly does not really know the issues. She shouldn't. She's 8 years old or something. But at least MSNBC was honest about it.
And on a day dedicated to the rights of children, the biggest moment may have come from one of the smallest voices.
This is evil! It needs to stop!
Many will find 12-year-old Leah's message hard to forget.
No, 12, sorry.
It makes me sad to know that children can't be with their parents. I don't understand why they're being so mean to us children.
I can totally see what happened with this child. Do you know what that evil President Trump is doing? He is taking children from their parents. I don't think a 12-year-old necessarily has the cognizance of the background of the complications of this story.
I think a lot of 12-year-olds do, and that one doesn't.
Well, this one, I don't think so. And you can just tell how she's been souffled.
It makes me sad to know that children can't be with their parents. I don't understand why they're being so mean to us children. Don't they know how much we love our families? Don't they have a family too?
Again, customs officials aren't saying what the plan is for reuniting the roughly 2,000 children still separated. But the activists and organizers of yesterday's movement say they want to use this momentum to keep people engaged enough to make a difference at the ballot box.
Well, there you go. At least they're honest about it.
Well, they're in an offhanded way. The whole thing was dishonest. They're protesting nothing. This is like going, let's protest the Vietnam War. Get out of Vietnam.
Yeah.
So it was funny, this kid, there was a bunch of this you had a lot of this on Twitter, these people showing their kids holding stupid signs.
Yes, I saw you tweeting about child abuse, and you got a lot of pushback for that.
I didn't get a lot. I got mostly support. But I did get some pushback from the guy himself who posted the picture, who was the editor of the Nib.
Yeah, didn't he say, you're an asshole? That was
no, he said, no, he dropped the F-bomb on me.
You're right. Like, fuck off. That was his big journalistic response. It was pretty good. Yeah.
And so I go back and look at his site, and he's got this long cartoon about the kind of the negative civil discourse and how we should be nice to each other.
Oh, yeah, civil, yes.
So I'm looking at that thing saying, holy crap, this guy's all into, we should, this Trump's fault that we have this civil discourse issues because people can't be nice to each other. And so I go back to clip his thing and then clip his other thing, and I was going to put a little piece together. He deleted the tweet before I could get back to it.
Oh, what a douche. Who was it that said, I'm looking for it. Here it is, yes. Samantha B. One of Samantha B's staff writers tweeted, "Civility." You got to write this one down. Civility is a tool of white supremacy.
What?
I have to say, my head kind of exploded over that one. It's like, what?
Wow.
Civility is a tool of white supremacy.
I can find a pin that writes.
Huh?
Let's see if I can find a pen.
Oh, you're actually writing it down.
I am.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a tool of white supremacy. I didn't realize that. Well, I'm sorry I called for it.
Well,
I feel like a big white douche.
You are a douche.
Yeah. Well, thanks,
you
man.
Civility white supremacist.
Can we play part 2?
Yes, let's finish it up.
More than 700 marches in every state. Demonstrators join forces with celebrities.
We are out here to save the soul of our nation.
And politicians.
Don't give up!
President Trump signed an executive order to stop the separations, but more than 2,000 children still haven't been reunited with their parents. This 7-year-old from El Salvador, separated from his mother for a month, reunited just yesterday in Virginia. Our Tom Yamas at the border this week asked the head of Customs and Border Protection about the legal back and forth and the public pressure.
At this point now, where we were separating families, then the executive order came out and we're keeping families together.
So it's moot. The whole thing was moot. He kind of slipped it in that Trump did sign the executive order, but yeah, he kind of put it in as like an afterthought. It was really, I thought it was poor journalism from top to bottom covering this thing. They should have either ignored. It was a moot protest. They should have either not covered it or at least gotten to the bottom of it. And been honest with the public. It's
right,
just a rally.
It's a cheerleading.
A rally would be different.
No, they were cheerleading.
They were cheerleading.
Plain and simple. No, they were cheerleading. But that's what they do. I did do a little bit of research on a few things. Mainly the asylum part. Everyone's always talking about the broken immigration system. We need comprehensive immigration reform. And the immigration system works. I've always complained that it's too expensive, but if you want to come in legally, although just a side story, you know Lex, right? My first boss, Lex, my buddy.
Lex, your buddy.
With the largest Warhol collection in Europe.
He's worth millions with that Warhol collection.
Yeah. So he sent me a note. He says, "I'm done." It's like, what? And he's 70.
Why is he bitching about the Vietnam War?
72, 73 now. I'm done. I hate that. I hate your country. I hate that stupid Trump. Like, what's going on? What's going on? He says, I wanted to go to, my son is having a kid in Canada, and then I wanted to swing by New York and check out some galleries, and I was refused an ESTA. I said, you were refused ESTA? Yes, because I visited Iran. I said, and it's true. If you visited Iran, if you have that stamp, then you have to have a separate interview, and then maybe in a year you'll get your ESTA waiver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can go straight to Canada.
I'm sorry?
He wanted to go to Canada.
Yeah.
What he's bitching about is he couldn't go to New York for a little while.
Yes, of course. That's what. And I agree. And I said, just so you know, that's a regulation that was put in place in 2015 by Obama. But otherwise, I understand your frustration. That's okay. But then as I was doing more research on this, because that part really basically isn't broken. It's just expensive to come into the country and go through the process legally, which I certainly think we could do better on that. It's the asylum part that I never really looked into. I mean, are you familiar with the asylum regulations for the United States?
I'm not perfectly familiar with them.
See, I always thought
you can ask for asylum.
Yeah, I always thought that there were certain countries that were pre-approved, and so you could come in on if you're from that country, and it's a shit country, there's stuff going on, you're on the list, in you come. Not so. Yeah, well, that's not true. So, but when you look at how it does work, the problem is not the immigration; it's the asylum process. So I dug in a little deeper, and this is from the USICS, the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services website. You may apply for asylum if you are at a port of entry or already in the United States. You may apply for asylum regardless of your immigration status, as long as it's within 1 year of your arrival to the United States. Now, you have to show you are eligible by, let me see. There's a whole bunch of things that you really have to apply within that first year. So you can come. This is basically what's happening. People are coming in as long as you can slip in, and then within that year you can apply for asylum, and then you go into this long process, which takes quite a while. But you only have to prove that you are being discriminated against or are in danger based upon your political beliefs, religious beliefs, or if you're a member of a certain group, which is kind of broad.
I was hearing something about this on one of the right-wingers talk shows where they were bitching about certain Christian cults in the Middle East. I would call them a cult, but they're, I guess, mainstream in some areas. But they were just offbeat. And they were not letting them have asylum, even though the Muslims in some areas are just burning their churches to the ground and killing them.
And they were not getting asylum?
They were not getting asylum. That's what they were complaining about, because other guys were getting asylum and these guys weren't, and they needed it.
So, that whole process, which is not, it's decided by some judiciary decides whether you have the right or not. But I think the problem is that you can ask for that's the only thing I would change. It would be pretty comprehensive, but if you want asylum, ask it at the port of entry. I don't agree with this. You can come in illegally and then ask for asylum. And I think that's
I know it makes
that seems to be the only sense. That seems to be the only problem, except for the exorbitant costs of legal immigration. That seems to be the only real problem here. It's not that big a deal.
They're rushing the border.
Yeah, and when you do, you slip in, and then you're good to go, and then you can ask for asylum. And I think even though Mexico is, I'm sure that under certain circumstances you can get asylum from the atrocities in Mexico, in any South American country, in our own country. I want asylum from my own country. It's totally possible. So, to me, it's like everyone's focusing on the wrong thing. It's the asylum process that is the issue here. Let me see. I got a number of people telling me that I was wrong about the travel ban. Now,
what did you say that was wrong? And usually they send me notes saying, "Tell Adam he's wrong."
That's so interesting, because everyone sends me notes to tell you if you were wrong. What is wrong with people? Are you afraid to email us directly?
No idea.
Why is that? Is a very odd thing. We've noticed that for 10 years now.
Yeah.
So I said Trump called, it's a travel ban. It's not a Muslim ban. It's a travel ban. And what he wrote as executive order was a travel ban, but I had not heard this clip.
Hey, stop you right there. Let me excuse me for
this is from 2015. Then presidential hopeful.
a second. Let me just stop you right there. Tell us how it's going to work if you indeed are going to get this done. Unlikely that it could pass Congress, even if it did, likely to be found unconstitutional. So how will you actually do this?
What I'm doing is I'm calling very simply for a shutdown of Muslims entering the United States. And here's a key: until our country's representatives can figure out what is going on. They don't know.
I stand corrected. He did say that. Now, granted, it was a long time ago.
I remember that too. I remember that.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about it. So that's confusing.
Again, it's something.
People
are going to have to either make up their minds. Either Trump is just full of shit.
Yeah.
Which is what most people claim. And you have to take this stuff with a grain of salt when he says something, because it could go either way when it finally comes down to it. And only what's finalized counts, which is the way I think it has to be dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
Or you take everything at face value and you believe every word he says as the honest to God truth. And you can't do both of those things. This cherry picking. So he did say that. I remember that too. I think he said it more than once, actually.
Okay.
And it was always based on this, because we don't until we know what's happening.
Right. But then the executive order came out. And it was clearly not a Muslim ban. Otherwise, it would have banned all of Pakistan from traveling to the United States.
Exactly.
Yeah. He did say it, though.
Corrected once again.
Yes.
Now, No Agenda Show continues
to correct ourselves. Now,
as much as possible.
The thing that really
stop the war
really baffles me is the calls for abolishment of ICE. And which I said it wrong on the last show.
Brought this up.
Yeah, I see. ICE it's part of it was rebranding. Yes, the Department of Homeland Security came into effect after 9/11 as a part of the Patriot Act, and there's a whole bunch of issues with that. But we're stuck with it for now. And
by the way, we bitched about this from day one, about the Patriot Act and
the whole DHS. Absolutely.
And where were all these same people that are complaining now?
Yeah. Well, some of them weren't born. Or just too young. It's a minor problem.
I guess you got me there.
Yeah. I don't think Reddit was around either. Yeah, that's where the big bitches take place. But the ICE came out of something that I think most of these people don't remember, INS. If you recall, those were the bad guys.
Immigration and Naturalization Services.
Yes, and you could say in a restaurant in New York City, "Hey man, shut up, or I'm calling INS on you." Everybody knew what that meant. Everybody knew what INS was.
Yeah, I agree.
So ICE is just a new version of that.
It's just rebranding. You're right. It's all it is. It's INS. You're exactly correct.
Now they did get some new powers, which was this 100 miles within the border.
This has got to go.
Well, I looked into that too. So I've been stopped by one of those. I really, really despise it, and I still believe it is a violation of your Fourth Amendment rights. But Supreme Court did rule on this a long time ago. Actually, they ruled on this 20 years ago. And they said that it is absolutely more. I think the way it came out in the Supreme Court ruling was that the safety of the people of the country went above this one question stop, which is not one question, but okay, of are you an American citizen? And there's a whole, there's also a dissent against. I put it all in the show notes, but the ICE guys, it's mainly ICE, who are at these like I-35 in Texas. So they have to be on a road that, within 100 miles that comes from the border. It can't be on just some willy-nilly road. You don't have the same rules for roving ICE. So if someone, if ICE is trailing you in the car and then they pull you over, they have to have an actual reason to ask you for identification if you're a citizen. But these ICE stations at on these within the 100-mile border limit, they have been ruled constitutional by the Supreme Court.
Well, it's local authorities that usually put the kibosh on some of this stuff. We had this problem up in the Port Angeles area.
Mm-hmm.
They've set up an ICE operation. They're put together a nice system. They have like their office buildings and these fancy black SUVs they drive around, and they were going around with red lights and sirens.
Yeah, but see, that's the roving. They're not allowed to do that. They have to have probable cause.
They were doing it, and they were telling everyone to fuck off. And
they can't do that.
Pulling people over, and then they were, what was another thing? Oh, then they were going to the scene of an accident that was being carried, and they come in, can we help? And they were coming in. It's like they were bored.
Yeah, they had nothing better to do.
They had nothing better to do. They're sitting around in their office. There's nothing to do there. And so they decided to go out there and have some fun. I would probably do the same thing if I was working there.
Right.
And they finally got told by a judge to stop it or else.
Right. Yeah, but again, roving ICE is different. That's there's different rules, but it's the ones that I take such issue with is, you slow down, like, are you an American citizen? You really have no right to ask. But apparently they do. However, ICE needs to go. They are evil, and
is Austin within 100 miles of the border?
No, and we don't have them here.
Where'd you see them then?
When I drove from California to Texas, we got stopped. Yeah, it was quite the ordeal. And the reason why they had probable cause is because the police dog jumped up against a vehicle and was like, oh, you may have drugs, probable cause. And you know about the police dogs.
Yeah.
They're liars.
They are. They're liars.
Big liars, police dogs.
Yeah,
they're
we've
cute.
documented this on the show.
I like them, but they're liars. They're trained to lie. So here is Kristen Gillibrand of New York with her brilliant call to disband ICE.
She's also got some positions that are even to the left of Bernie Sanders. She wants to get rid of ICE. Now, what are you going to do with your party if you do come into a majority and you have a significant number, or at least an influence, of people who have that kind of a position?
Yeah. Well, I agree with it. I don't think ICE today is working as intended.
Well, you think you should get rid of the agency?
I believe that it has become a deportation force. And I think you should separate the criminal justice from the immigration issues. And I think you should reimagine ICE under a new agency with...
Reimagine? What is that? Is that a new way of running?
Oh, that's just some...
I'm going to reimagine.
Bad term she would use. I think the guy should. How about something like immigration naturalization services? Do you think maybe we should go back to that?
Oh,
that's the question you should ask.
I think you should reimagine ICE under a new agency.
It's the Cuomo kid. Smoke's coming out of his ears already.
With a very different mission, and take those two missions out. And so we believe that.
Wait. She's talking gobbledygook.
Yeah, I know.
She says with a new mission, take those two missions out.
Yeah.
What? Agency with a very different mission, and take those two missions out. And so we believe that we should protect families that need our help, and that is not what ICE is doing today. And that's why I believe you should get rid of it, start over, reimagine it, and build something that actually works.
I believe she's also poorly informed. It's Customs Border Patrol who deal with the border. ICE enforces. Once you're inside the border and past whatever you've gone through or not, that's where ICE comes into play. So
they're the ones who come into Oakland.
Then we have our new superstar.
By the way, Gillibrand is Hillary Clinton light.
Yeah. Well, and then there's AOC.
Or lightweight.
Then there's AOC, baby. AOC. Just like HRC, she's got initials. AOC. Talking about Ocasio-Cortez.
Oh, her. You know, there was a good piece in the Zero Hedge on her. She apparently was raised in a very wealthy family.
Yes.
And according to, we had a dinner the other day, and JC was, I guess, reading in the Jacobin or one of these other publications that he likes. He says that the Spanish vote or the Latino voters never gave her any support whatsoever because her Spanish sucks. Apparently, she's close to speaking Spanglish.
I got a real nasty note from someone. Let me see if I can.
Good.
Yeah, let me see if I can find it. This stupid Outlook, man. You guys suck. Here we go. It even from Shady Waters. Oh, jeez. Outlook has a real
squirrel mail.
I should. It's like I just want to open up one note, people. But then it immediately goes into, I can't even explain what's going on here.
No, sorry that you even thought to do that.
Yeah, here we go. You You have no clue what you're talking about when mentioning AOC. She's been part of the DSA for 2 years with a massive organic backing. They knocked on over 15,000 doors in the Bronx. She was outspent 80-1, like John said. Planned Parenthood and Emily's List donated to Crowley. She had no PAC money. And to think that Chuck Schumer would be grooming someone that's against Israel may be the most retarded thing I've heard you say on this show. You both have no clue about how there's a civil war in the DNC and AOC's win is our Tea Party movement. But unlike all the dark money the Tea Party got, we don't get any funding. The DCCC does not fund anyone who's a part of the DSA. Keep thinking you have a clue about us socialists. And yes, we want open borders. Boo-hoo. Seriously, I got a boo-hoo.
Open borders. This is great.
I got a boo-hoo.
Hey, sucker, you're a stooge for the one world government.
So now, Ocasio-Cortez she's very green. She's just fresh, so she's going to make mistakes, and we're going to point a couple out right now.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun.
But I will make note that Scott Adams says she is a master manipulator on par with the level of Trump.
Well, he's discussing her ability to emote hypnotic suggestions.
No, she may. I don't know if she's that good. Somehow it may be just coming.
I think he's full of crap
on
this one.
Let's listen to her speaking about the ICE issue.
So you have called for a number of things, one of them being to abolish ICE. And you recently traveled to the border to Tornillo, Texas, to see the shelters, to see where some of these separated families are being held. What would you replace ICE with? And do we not need protection at the border?
Well, we absolutely do need to make sure that our borders are secure, to make sure that people are safe in passage. But what we need to realize and remember is that ICE was established in 2003, right at the same time as the Patriot Act, the AUMF, the Iraq War. And we look back at a lot of that time and legislation as a mistake now. And I think that ICE is right there as a part of it. It has its extrajudicial nature is baked in to the structure of the agency, and that is why they're able to get away with black sites at our border with the.
Now, I love this black sites. I'm like, wait a minute, black sites. The last time that was used was in connection with CIA torture facilities,
torture chambers in Estonia or Latvia.
Which now I don't know where she got this from. But she's really going to make a big mistake here, and we know here at the No Agenda Show that these facilities are not run by Health and Human Services. They're run by outfits like
TCA.
No. Like the one South Key, the one here in Austin, who gets $100 million a year. These are
I thought they were run by the corrections guys.
No. We went through this whole thing. It's the immigration orgs, the NGOs who pick these people up.
Okay.
And they put them. The Walmart is owned by South Key. Well, not South Key, the other one. But it's all owned by these NGOs who have balance sheets and who have the South Key.
It's not a Walmart. It's a Walmart-like facility, or it's
a former Walmart.
Yeah, but it's not Walmart.
No, it says Walmart on the building. It's a former Walmart. Come on, just call it a Walmart.
They should take the Walmart sign down.
Anyway, so now she's talking about black sites. All right, let's find out what she's talking about.
Separation of children. We are committing human rights abuses on this border and separating children from their families, and that is the structure of the agency. We can replace it, and we can replace it with a humane agency that is directed towards safe passage instead of the direction of the criminalization.
What do you mean black sites? What do you mean about black?
I'm glad she asked the question.
Black sites.
So I was just
nice.
Yes. So actually, we were just hopping off MSNBC and.
Oh, big mistake! You do not go on CNN and say we were just hopping off MSNBC. That She'll learn, but that's a mistake.
The criminalization.
What do you mean black sites? What do you mean about black ICE black sites?
So I was just yes. So actually, we were just hopping off MSNBC and they were talking about it. Basically, what we have is that people are not able to access. Even our own members of Congress are not able to access what is happening in these sites, and that in and of itself, the secretive nature. And when we know that,
what she's talking about is journalists and Congress representatives with journalists and cameras wanting to go in and shoot video in these sites, which is a pretty clear violation of these children's privacy, or of anybody's privacy. And it's quite honestly, it's ghoulish. It's ghoulish to go in gawking at the suffering of people. And they come from suffering. Their suffering is extended until we figure out what to do with them. But to call that a black site and infer that there's something nefarious going on, I think is just, she's green.
Site.
She's green.
Access, even our own members of Congress are not able to access what is happening in these sites. And that in and of itself, the secretive nature, and when we know that children are being kept and that human rights abuses are happening in without any sort of transparency or accountability.
Tons of transparency and accountability, but you need to go to the companies who are contracted to do it.
That is where we're at right now. That is simply what is happening.
I would note those facilities run by HHS, but I know some of the lawmakers who've even gotten inside have not been able to see some of the children.
Yeah. Fine.
By the way, let's stop for a second. Who is this woman, AOC, to be there in the first place? She's a candidate.
Yeah.
She's a candidate running in a district in New York.
She's a superstar.
And she's down in Texas nosing around as a candidate. What has it got to do with the locals in New York, in her neighborhoods, or wherever she is running, whatever district? What's this got to do with anything that she should be doing?
It's for
and
working.
She's not like a congressman doing an investigation. She's a candidate.
Yeah, running on a platform of abolishing ICE. And I have some thoughts for that.
Well, I'd like to hear them.
Yeah, we need to rebrand. And, so ICE, their job is to protect us from aliens. And there you go. All of a sudden, I had it. We got the Space Force. We need spice. Spice is the word.
Spice.
So we have space. Yeah, we need to add space to the aliens. So not just ice, but call it spice.
Yeah, well, it's...
And it would sound nicer. Hey, Spice here. Oh, hey, how you doing? I think it would be nicer.
Yeah, maybe. It's an idea. So I did this. You saw the newsletter.
Yes. Wow.
So
by the way, the advertisements, the misogynist advertisements.
Yeah.
Whoa. That's some crazy stuff in there, man.
It's great.
The sexual over and undertones are off the hook. What a bunch of douchebags we were in the 50s.
That's the advertising industry. It wasn't necessarily the public.
Good point.
It was the people in New York City.
Mm-hmm. The admin.
Now, so I do this. I did a couple of ads. Once I get my Photoshop out, I get to work.
But you gotta dig in the back of the shed. But it's there somewhere.
So I did this ad. First, I did two ads for two political posters. I did one for AOC.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
which was in the newsletter.
That was a good one, although technically impossible.
Oh, well, hold on a second. And then I did one for Maxine Waters.
Yeah.
And the Maxine Waters one was really, I thought, was funnier, but I didn't put it in the newsletter. It's just on Twitter. I'll put it in the next newsletter. So this one, so I run that thing with she's running. It says Cortez or Oliveras, whatever her name is,
AOC
or Cortez for president 2020, and with the catchphrase, "Why not?" Yeah. And so I get a bunch of mail and people on Twitter. You do know she's not eligible. She's not eligible because she's too young.
People just don't understand your high level of comedy, John.
They're maybe grooming her. And okay, wow. And so the Maxine Waters one was worse. I did this as Maxine Waters.
We just have to say that you can the Constitution states you can only be president if you're 35. So 2020, she would not be old enough to be eligible.
Yeah.
And
I'm nodding my head. Oh, really?
Yeah, that's part of the
humor.
humor.
She's running. So the Maxine Waters says, Waters 2020, the time for change is now. And then it says, quote, if I'm elected president, the first thing I'll do is impeach Donald Trump. And so
and people went, don't you know that's not possible?
Yeah, I got a bunch of notes. I got one note said, If the time is now, why is she running in 2020? That's one. And then she said, I don't think it's possible to impeach Donald Trump after he's out of the presidency. And a bunch of these kinds of notes.
Oh, God.
And why? And then why are you propagating fake news as this existed? It's unbelievable.
And that's now, you haven't seen this. I mean, it's really flowed over to Twitter. I think, the Facebook, I haven't been on it since I left. Was it now almost 2 months ago?
Mm-hmm.
At least a month ago. Yeah, you can wait all you want. I'm not going back. I get enough of it on Twitter, and you're seeing it now, too. By the way,
the humorless masses
yes, who are pissed off,
brainwashed by Stephen Colbert to think the only thing funny is some slapstick about Trump.
Humorless, brainwashed. Juan Sanchez, the founder of Southwest Key Programs, this is the company that gets about $100 million a year, the headquartered in Austin, to handle these kids. He's out there crying now. He said the government asked us to set up shop, and so we did. And in the process, of course, we advertised, and all these people applied for jobs, and now we're gonna have to lay people off because there won't be enough people, the clients, to take care of.
There you go again, your pet peeve.
There's been this determination by the government that we're going to cut the number of kids that we are serving by 48%. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're serving the kids. So as the government has made these cuts across the country, what do? They told us you need to terminate folks. So we're in the process right now of needing to terminate people. They're losing jobs. It's bad for the economy.
Brother.
Yeah. When you talk about either whether it's homeless people or whatever your NGO is, when you start to look at these people as clients, then it is your natural inclination of the organization to grow the client base. Then here he is. He say, "Oh, now we have to fire people. So sad. They responded to our ads. This would be a good thing. You should be happy."
Yeah. This is like starting a government agency and then shutting it down. I worked for the Air Pollution District in the San Francisco Bay Area, which was a regional government setup. And it began in 1955. I was working there in the 70s. And one day I was at the University of California doing some miscellaneous research, and I found their bylaws when they set up shop. Mm-hmm. There's a whole section.
Wait, you were working there and you're just doing some miscellaneous research.
Yeah. So, which I recommend. Anyway, I've always said this about government work. Anyway, so I'm in there. I was looking doing something, and I just ran into all their paperwork, and it was founded, and I didn't know any of this because they don't teach any of it when you're working there. It was founded in 1955, and it was supposed to have it was because this was everything, all the air pollution stuff really got going in the 50s after the London fog, after that London death fog that killed everybody.
Wait a minute, the London fog, wasn't that much earlier?
It was earlier than 1955, but I don't know if it was that much earlier. Let's look it up.
Yeah, we should definitely
consult the book of knowledge.
And this is the fog that
the great smog of London. Is what it was
descended,
called.
And it was like, don't worry about it.
1952.
Oh, good. So they said, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. How many people died?
I don't know. I'm looking at it now.
A lot.
Yeah, it was anyways. It was a severe air pollution event that affected the British capital of London early December 1952, a period of cold winter combined with anti-cyclone and windless conditions collected airborne pollutants. It goes on and on. 4,000 people died. So that, and 100,000 more were made ill. So this was a serious problem.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I went to London, they're still burning coal, and you had to change your shirt at least 2 or 3 times a day.
Wait, so that is the genesis of the EPA?
The genesis of most air pollution related, I think so. I think it was. Although the EPA was put in play by Nixon a little later, but these local districts were all created in the mid 50s.
Right.
Ours was created in 1955, and it was because everyone was freaked out about what happened in London. I mean, people bitch and moan now about carbon pollution, but they have no idea. There hasn't been an event like this ever since, where 4,000 people were killed, 4,000 dead, and 100,000 made ill. So that was a big deal. So they started the air pollution district in 1955 to clean up the area. And they did a pretty good job of it, I think. But it was designed to have a 15-year life. I read it in the bylaws. It was supposed to be shut down in 1970. And
there's your government agency.
No, let's see, it's 2018, still going strong, people.
You might die sucking in soot.
Yow!
You might die.
Ow! Sucking in soot. Just need to remind ourselves.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So these agencies, once they get going, and this is kind of people who study government will all say this, you start something, its job is to get more money and get a bigger budget every year. And they never cut expenses. And when they talk about cutting expenses, they never talk about, we talk about this on the show constantly, they're not cutting expenses. They're cutting the next year's budget increase.
The natural increase. Exactly. So we also have the Supreme Court issue, which is, this is all just Gitmo Nation stuff here, but it's being talked about worldwide, and I do luckily have some crazy Euroland stuff.
I'd like to hear that. I have two clips, because mine, I'm just showing the slant of, in this case, CBS, not ABC, and there was a new piece that's going around. Somebody challenged us to discuss it, which apparently the New York Times has said that somehow because Trump's son knows Kennedy's son, that it was suggested.
Yeah, I looked at this. Yeah,
so bull crap.
Kennedy's son apparently worked at Deutsche Bank, and he helped Trump get some loan, which I think is factually incorrect. But guess what? The former New York banker knows, so I'm going to ask him. So we'll find out if So the idea is Justice Kennedy worked with the Trump White House to screw everybody by punching out at the right moment so they could elect a new, crazy Roe versus Wade abolishing justice because there was already some collusion behind the scenes with his kid and Trump. It seems to me like Trump owes him, but okay.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the way I look at it. Trump owes this guy a favor if that story is true.
And the other thing is these guys are pretty, you're set for life when you're a Supreme Court justice. Nobody can push you around or shouldn't be able to unless they have a gun to your dog's head. And the guy's either insincere about quitting. I don't see him wanting to quit to give Trump the extra pick. In time before the election, so at least I think there was some thought about that, but he obviously had it in mind to quit within the next few years anyway, and this would be a good time to do it because you don't want, it just seems to be the most convenient way to go because they can really ramrod some guy through as long as they get the cooperation of Murkowski and.
Well, you know what the call for is now though, on the Sosh Nets, pack the court and #11. So the thinking now on from the Democratic Party is we can add another member to the Supreme Court.
This is what Roosevelt tried to do. This is old Democratic practice.
Some history. Tell us.
Well, I don't know the details. I just remember that Roosevelt tried to pack the court because he wasn't getting the response he wanted from the National Recovery Act. His National Recovery Act was unconstitutional. And I don't know the details of it, but I just know he tried to pack the court. It was very controversial.
Yeah, I guess we can have more justices on the Supreme Court.
Or less.
Yeah. Yeah, less. That's possible, too. Yeah. But I don't know what that would take. Does that take an amendment?
This is not happening.
No, I know it's not happening.
Just a bunch of wishful thinking.
I understand. But what is the legal process? Would that take an amendment?
I don't know. You're asking. I just really don't know offhand. I'd have to look into it. We'll look into it and we'll have the answer for everybody on Thursday. We meaning you.
Okay.
Since you brought it up.
Okay, you got it. I'll have an answer.
All right. Let's play. I have two clips because I have some commentary on the Supreme Court rundown 1, which I call boring. It's a little boring. It's only 1 minute and 30, but it just galls because CBS brings in this woman who's a professor at Barnard or Wellesley, one of these one-time women's schools, and she seems to be like a spook pushing the CIA line. This never got on network. This was on their streaming service. And I just found they're pushing these. Just one of the show's gripes that we have, and people out there listening to the show know this. We complain about untruths being promulgated as memes, which is constantly going on. Like the phony gassing in Syria that was done by the rebels, and
97% of all scientists,
and 97% of all that sort of thing is galling. And this woman comes on, a professor.
All Mexicans are rapists.
Exactly. We need a list.
We do need a list. Mm-hmm.
All right. Hit this.
Well, it's a big deal because Justice Kennedy has historically been the swing vote between the more liberal and conservative wings of the Supreme Court. His decisions have helped provide rights to gay Americans toward marriage. He's also upheld abortion as well. So with his possible replacement and President Trump's commitment to replace him with a conservative justice, Democrats and liberals are concerned that perhaps this is the first step to Roe versus Wade, which legalized abortion, to being overturned. So they tried to push Senate Leader Mitch McConnell to delay this confirmation vote until after the midterm elections on the slim chance that perhaps Democrats will win enough seats to gain the majority in the Senate. But Senator McConnell will have none of that. He wants this vote done this fall to secure a conservative justice on the court. And that's why President Trump met with several senators this week to gauge what would be palatable for them, what type of nominee. There are two pro-abortion rights Republican senators, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska and Susan Collins of Maine, who have indicated they don't want to see someone overturn Roe versus Wade. Senator Collins saying that she sees it as settled law. So President Trump would be wise to appoint a justice who has not previously ruled in ways that seem negative toward Roe versus Wade, although President Trump told us on Air Force One yesterday he would not ask potential nominees specifically about their views on this issue because he felt it would be inappropriate. But we are standing by to see who he will meet here in the next few hours as a potential replacement for Justice Kennedy.
You know what gets me is I don't think these journalists or anybody really, if you ask them point blank, what was Roe versus Wade about? And how does that case, or what was the circumstance in that case that led to, the federal legalization of abortion? I don't think most people know, because it has nothing to do with the rights of the baby or death or when a child is a person. It has nothing to do with that. And I think we should just review for a second. It was the way it was done, which I think is constitutionally very solid, is the right to privacy under the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment, that it's a woman's decision to have an abortion, but it is her privacy whether she does that and whatever medical facilitator she uses for that. And when you really go down the line of looking at the 14th Amendment, the Due Process Clause, I mean, this is some pretty real basic stuff. It also folds into the Fifth Amendment. So
right. It also pushes the whole issue onto the states.
It certainly does, but I think that people are very confused, and they think that, this is, whoever it is speaking, whoever the person is, religious fuck, it's gonna overturn it. This is not something you just overturn. And by the way, it was a 7-2 ruling. It was pretty unanimous. So it's lack of knowledge, lack of education. Yeah, well, it is beside the point. You're right.
It's beside the point because it's a point of, it's like a point of order. It's a vote Democrat is what it is.
Yes.
And that's all it is.
Yes, correct.
And it's a dog. In fact, the Democrats have coined the phrase, and I would say this is a dog whistle issue.
Yeah.
It's what Hillary used to say all the time. It's a dog. You say Roe versus Wade, you just call out the dogs. They don't know. It doesn't matter what it's really about. It's just the dog whistle. All right, on to part two.
You know, a lot of talk also has been said about the Supreme Court that it's just not diverse enough, especially on an ethnic level. And you're making these decisions on people who come from a wide range of different backgrounds. Any sort of sense that he might nominate somebody who is more ethnically diverse than the current makeup of the Supreme Court?
Yeah, there is one nominee who, if confirmed, would be the first Indian American to sit on the Supreme Court, and that's Amul Thapar. He's 49 years old and currently serves on the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals in Cincinnati. President Trump was also keen to mention that there are 2 women on his short list of possible replacements, and that includes Amy Coney Barrett. She's 46 years old and was appointed by President Trump to sit on the Seventh Circuit.
Well, they have these 2 people. First, diversity. I think the court's fairly diverse already. There seem to be more Jews than in the general population. That may be something to consider. They never mentioned that.
No. That's
can't say that.
Ixnay on the UJ.
But they're so that's a little unbalanced in that regard. They could use another woman, but they're going to get another woman when Ruth Bader Ginsburg drops, or quits or something. Because they're just put a woman in her place. I think they're going to try to put that Indian guy in.
That would make sense.
Because you get a Dinesh D'Souza type of guy.
Yeah.
These Indian guys, if they have, these Indian guys are tough customers because they have better memories than most. You have to remember that the Indian landmass and all the Indians, they were the last major civilization to have a written language. And they finally adopted Sanskrit. And so what they did, I believe, what they did over the centuries and centuries was develop an outrageous ability to memorize facts. So they didn't need it. You don't need a written language if everybody in the town knows the books,
right?
Just by memory,
right?
So you get these guys, a guy like this who's a conservative. Oh, he would be
relentless.
He would be a nightmare for the Democrats.
But
they would have trouble saying no to him because he's a super ethnic. He's a South Asian. What are you going to do?
Well, he has a penis. That's a problem.
Well, there's that. Yeah. That's one thing you can complain about.
Yeah, toxic.
But we're
penis.
not absolutely sure about that.
All right, let's listen to some commentary on The View regarding the Supreme Court. And of course, we have Whoopi, who was very, very upset about this, as she feels that men always want to be inside of her, telling her what to do on the inside.
I don't like hearing again that I'm trying to take your rights away. Because I have to tell you, as a woman, I think you're trying to take my rights away.
That's right.
Okay? You don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, and as a person who believes in the Constitution, which tells me that I have the right to be myself and do the things I want to do, and I don't have to listen to what your religion is, and I don't have to listen to what you want it to be. I have to make sure that as an American citizen, I'm doing...
By the way, here you can see, or you can hear, the confusion, as she truly believes Roe versus Wade is about religion and religious beliefs. So that's not the point of the clip, but you can hear it.
You think there was a religious aspect to Roe versus Wade, was there?
There's zero religious aspect. None. No. That's not, the ruling is purely about privacy, not about religion.
Just making it up. I mean,
this is what people think. Uneducated
right.
idiots.
To what your religion is, and I don't have to listen to what you want it to be. I have to make sure that as an American citizen, I'm doing the right stuff and taking care of business. I don't like this line that I, as a Democrat or an independent or whatever, is trying to take away anything from you. I'm trying to hold on to my personal rights so that you can have the rights you want. See, because if you take mine, I feel like you're the one with the problem. If you take my right away from me to judge what I do for my family and my body, I got a little problem with that. You got a problem. You don't want people to take your guns. Well, get out of my behind. Get out of my vagina. Get out.
Well, it's interesting because I think,
get out. You know, I mean, it's my vagina. Get out. Get out. My vagina.
There she is, once again, begging people to get in so she can get them out. Yes. Now, but it was also get out of my behind, which I do not think is related to Roe v. Wade.
No.
But
Some sort of double penetration.
Right,
fantasy.
there we go. Michael Moore was on the Bill Maher show Friday. You want to hear some of that?
Well, I'm game.
I thought you would be.
Michael Moore, look at you with a standing ovation.
Standing ovation.
That's true every time I see you.
Now, somebody told me you had a Hail Mary solution to this Supreme Court pick. You think it's not a done deal?
Well, I don't think we should give up on the fact. Listen, the Senate right now is 51-49.
Right.
Sadly, McCain will not be able to vote, so it's a 50-49 vote.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah,
Come on. I know we have to, right, we've got to push it off till after November.
And I don't trust every Democrat.
And no, we have to hold the Democratic seats we have. But look, 90% of incumbents are always returned. I mean, so the Democrats in Montana and North Dakota.
But please notice how quickly this all goes to you need to vote for Democrats.
West Virginia, they've got to do their job. They'll do their job. Our job is to win Nevada, Arizona, and Tennessee, and they can all be won.
But the vote's going to take place before that.
Let's see.
No?
No, the vote. No, the idea is we first have to find ways to stop that vote from happening.
Find ways? What does that mean?
Well,
I'll
join 1 million other people surrounding the United States Capitol.
Now we're talking.
Stop the war in Vietnam.
Bill, let me tell you something. This judge goes through for the rest of at least, all of our lives. It's a right-wing court. That's it. It's over.
Combined with the White House and the Congress, of course.
Yes, and if this is the last American president.
So
it's a right-wing court now.
Well, I mean, you're...
Sorry?
You know, the thing that's always overlooked, and I get a kick out of it, is that it's a right-wing court now. Yeah, the Kennedy has flopped over to the other side sometimes, and Roberts did too. So it's Kennedy and Roberts both have done this, and it's a right-wing court now. What's going to change? This is a fake argument. They've got a right-wing guy in now, and they're not reversing any of the old court decisions by putting a new guy in there. It's just a different right-winger.
Yeah.
Brennan's a right-winger, and the next guy will be a right-winger. It's nonsense.
And you'll appreciate how they bring in a fictional story into this to kind of help people understand.
No.
Court. That's it. It's over.
Combined with the White House and the Congress, of course.
Yes. And if this is the last American president, then...
Okay, all right. Yeah. Well, I mean, you're the guy who kind of...
Why can't we do this?
Because the Republicans control the Senate, and Mitch McConnell's going to call a vote before the election.
I know, and he's going to call the vote. We don't know what are we going to do.
No, we can't.
No, they don't think like that. They don't think like that.
I know,
they go to magical thinking, and they go, fertilized egg is a human being.
Yeah.
Fertilized egg is a human being.
Now, is this unglued or unhinged? Which one is it? I forget. I can never remember.
I think it's, I think unhinged.
I think it's unhinged.
And they say it over and over, and they've got millions behind them. When are we going to start talking like that?
Talking is one thing. Stopping.
We're the truth. We'll tell the truth.
Why are we cheering? Woo!
So
we just lost the court.
Yeah, that's not what's important.
No, but seriously. No, but here, can I just make a serious point?
Yes.
In The Handmaid's Tale.
Oh, geez.
Now, I cut all this out, but I guess the director, the guy from The Handmaid's Tale or whatever, who was running the show, he was on there as well. So that's why he's bringing in The Handmaid's Tale so we can understand how it works. Because, Hulu will tell us our future.
The best part, Bill, let me just tell you this. This is a serious point. The best part of the show are the flashbacks where she tries to figure out where was the point when it was too late.
Right.
Where was
I get it.
Where was the point where if we had all just risen up,
right?
If we'd just done something, but because it happens in little increments.
That's right. That's how fascism works.
That's how fascism works.
They do it in
little. Listen,
isn't that great? That's just
man.
Fascism works just like The Handmaid's Tale. Everybody,
we lose one norm a week.
We have a president who, by the way, was not elected by the people and constantly refer.
Is Norm Macdonald dead? Did we lose Norm?
I think they're talking about the normals.
Oh, the normies. Yes. Okay.
Refers to himself.
Yeah.
Constantly. He's constantly referring to himself in the Third Reich, and it's. I'm finishing my movie and getting it out before the midterms because I want millions of people to get to the polls.
Yeah, that's...
These guys would just love it if we had a one-party system.
With no borders.
Socialist one-party system with a commissar and
with
all the
no
rest
borders.
Of those you get I hate to give you this for a Bill Maher clip. I think clip of the day is deserved.
Clip of the day. I do not share this with Bill Maher or with Michael Moore at all. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, John C., who put the C in SCOTUS Dvorak.
Well, in the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. In the morning to all the ships at sea, all the boots on the ground. Subs in the water, if there's any left, and all the dames and knights out there.
In the morning to the troll room, who already saying you're going soft on clip of the day. So they didn't think it was warranted, I guess.
Soft.
It's going soft, JCD.
Hey, it's my determination. I'm clip of the day. I get to call clip of the day, not you.
It is Troll Room, after all. NoAgendaStream.com, where you can always listen in live, and we often have a synchronized chat room with the YouTube video. You can look at the chat room and listen along. And also in the morning, the Cesium 137, he once again scored the artwork, the album artwork for episode 1046. The title of that show, which he did on Thursday, was Pot on Sale. And this was, we both thought it was a good piece of art for a number of reasons. It was obviously some kind of detention camp with barbed wire with a wooden sign, beautifully rendered with the skull and crossbones, and it says, no Wi-Fi. And that, of course, referred to the fact that there's no Wi-Fi in the camps we're all going to be locked up in. And it was nil agenda, not no agenda, nil agenda, which was nice. All kinds of little things he had in there.
It was very well.
It's a good piece. Very good piece.
It's what we're looking for.
Yeah, we are looking for that. So thank you, Cesium 137, and thanks to all of the artists who always gleefully upload their artwork to noagendaartgenerator.com. And, of course, we don't always use everyone's art, but we do seem to be able to repurpose it for newsletters and tweets and other things. So it's all appreciated. And, of course, you can also see some of this at noagendashop.com. As part of our value for value model, that's how it works. Thank you for providing that value. We also have people who sent us valuable money to keep the show going, since we don't take any commercials or money from any commercial interests. And we're going to thank our executive producers and associate executive producers right now.
Yeah, starting off with a very big contribution from David March out there in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on Canada Day. And we failed to mention at the beginning of the show that this is Canada Day.
Yes. Happy Canada Day, everybody.
Yeah, July the 1st is Canada Day. It's their equivalent of the 4th of July, although it wasn't based on a revolution.
Wow. I saw it in the newsletter.
It was based on an evolution.
Do they do fireworks on Canada Day?
Oh, yeah. Of course they do.
Oh, nice.
So there'll be some nice fireworks display in most of Canada. David March in Hamilton, $2,000.
Whoa!
Yeah. Oh, it's $2,000. We get these $2,000 guys every so often.
Well, he does it once a year, I think.
I think we had one.
But he does.
2 months back.
David donates
he always sends once a year. But he says, I'm sending this note, and here's directly to Adam. Normally, I do my donation around February for my birthday. However, this year I got the worst thing that happened where my father passed away right before my normal donation. Since then, I've been dealing with the estate and only recently got probate, which is a process you have to go through. I didn't know how they did it in Canada. So I can make this donation to the show. I would like to not just get my knighthood, but get my father's posthumous knighthood as well.
Wow.
Now, you're going to have to I didn't know if Eric would get this right. I don't think he did. So I want you to go and look at the thing and fix it.
I will look at the thing and fix it.
The list of knights.
Yeah. I think he fixed it.
What does he have for the father?
Sir Romano Marchi. So we have Sir.
Does he have of the Electric City?
No.
Well, then he didn't fix it.
Okay. Of the Electric City.
I would like to be named Sir Karanatov of the Electric City and my father, Sir Romano Marchi of the same.
Got it.
And as soon as he put that in there, I says, Eric won't get that.
He didn't put the first one in either.
Oh, okay. Well, they're both of the Electric
City. It's going
City.
soft.
Well, His name's an old joke from the time he went to a mob wedding for one of his students. A joke, I guess, is not going to be explained to us.
No, I guess not.
He was a professor and led a full life. I would ask for karma. The clip with the CB people saving the world.
Whoa! Stop.
Yes.
Stop. Whoa! I feel really. Whoa! I feel real bad about this, but hams are not CB people, and CB people will not save the world.
No, they won't even save their truck. Yes, that was a huge faux pas.
But that's okay.
Yeah, well, for $2,000, you can make all the faux pas you want.
You can do whatever the hell he wants. I agree.
Saving the World and the Go podcasting clip, which, by the way, we have not played for a long time.
Okay. Well, I'm very sorry to hear about this loss, David, but I very much look forward to knighting you as well as your dad posthumously. He sounds like he was a fun guy. And if you ever feel like it, we'd love to hear about the mob wedding to learn a little bit more about him. Yeah, we like that.
When the apocalypse comes, we're the guys who are going to save the world, right?
Go podcasting!
You've got karma.
You're right.
That was an actual you actually doing that, right, at an event?
I'm not sure.
Go podcasting!
Yeah, I think the mic drop was added.
You added that, but you yelled "Go podcasting."
Yeah,
last time you gave a speech, they wouldn't invite you back after that.
When I entered the Hall of Fame. It's hard to do it again.
Ah, that's a good point. You got me. Okay, now we have our colonel came in.
AJ.
Yeah, AJ, Lieutenant Colonel USMC, retired in Carlsbad, California, also known as Sir Joseph, Baron of Southern California. And indeed, he is the Baron of Southern California. He's in Carlsbad, $500.
Nice, thank you.
He sends a nice little note on the Semper Fi letterhead. ITM, Adam and John, encloses my donation for our household omnibus budget for the second quarter of the fiscal year.
I love how he does an omnibus for the household. It just tickles me. I like it a lot.
I'm going to do the same thing.
I'm considering the same, yeah.
Yes, you two are still in the budget.
Yeah.
And let me take this opportunity to encourage other producers.
John, stop. Can you imagine saying to your kids, well, you're still in the budget. But we have, what do you call it? What's the word when we were cutting him?
What was it called?
Oh, God.
Think of it. We should be able to come and say, chat room must know.
Yeah.
When they cut the budget for a year because of the...
you couldn't increase
some rule.
All right. Well, they'll get to it.
They'll get it. Yes, you two are still in the budget. And let me take this opportunity to encourage other producers who are listening to keep John and Adam in their thoughts and in their budgets.
Sequestration.
Yeah, we haven't been sequestered.
Thank you, Troll Room.
I knew they'd do it.
Castration? Could that be one?
That's different. I had planned to use my sealing wax to attach this check to my note so John would not misplace it among his quote-unquote other papers. But I had to trade in my night ring for a smaller size as the one I ordered was way too big. My mistake. So I'll just take my chances. No jingles, but I could use a bit more of your health karma. Thank you. Respectfully, A.J. Van Steenberg.
Here you go, sir. Health karma for you on its way.
You've got karma.
Thank you very much for your courage in more ways than one.
I will keep that note in my collection of notes. Which I do have.
Most emailed topic I got for this show. Yeah. Can John do more of the crumbs and the Rihanna stuff? People love that story, man.
Yeah, I guess they did. It wasn't much of a story.
It's just the idea that you get high and then go listen to Rihanna. It's just.
What else would you do? Wouldn't any normal person do that? One guy says, it's beyond my imagination that he would listen to Rihanna. I don't understand it.
I know that Rihanna has replaced Green Day for several months now in the hot rotation.
Yeah. Well, Green Day's kind of lost its mojo.
I'll say. All right, onward. Paul Arsenault.
Paul Arsenault in Jasper, Alberta, 33333. Thank you for your twice weekly dose of sanity.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for supporting it.
Ken Burkett, 33333 in Southlake, Texas. NJNK, been an avid listener since the single digits. Your program has above all enlightened me through the uneven times of launching my startup digital engagement platform, which I just sold to a major pharmaceutical company.
Woo!
Love and light. Ken
All
Burkett.
right. Nice. Congrats.
I wonder what it was he had and how he sold it.
We've been a part of his success, though. I feel proud.
Well, good. At least there's that. Well, and he also helped us. Wesley, and he's his executive producer for show 1047.
Mm-hmm. Add that to your
Wesley
list.
C. Young, Jamestown, New York, $300.
Serial entrepreneur and executive producer. That's how you write it down.
Young has sent us anything in the mail. This came in as a one of those bank checks. I'll just do a quick Young check on the using Squirrel Mail. See if there's anybody with the last name of Young. Jeffrey Young.
I'll use the Outlooks.
Jeffrey Young, but it's January 7th.
Wait,
which you didn't read.
What do I have?
Donated via PayPal and request to travel and jobs karma. This donation is set it up, but not my karma request. The karma request was never given in the show today.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but he only had $69.69, so it didn't work out.
Wow.
This time he does $300 through the bank, so we're giving him travel and jobs karma.
You got it.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Travel and jobs.
Well, that was a different that was Jeffrey Young. So Wesley Young. Well, you both get it.
Yeah.
Good work. Sir Patrick Knight of the Southern California Hills, $250 to be our first executive. Oh, by the way, Wesley Young was $300. Yeah, I think I said that.
Yeah.
$250 for Sir Patrick. Overdue Mother's and Father's Day donations showing support for all the great people in my life. Sir Patrick Knight of the SoCal Hills.
Okay, thank you.
Sir Whatever. Whatever. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can I change my name from Sir Whatever to Sir Dignity? Sir
Yes.
Dignity.
Yes, you can.
Okay. You're now Sir Dignity.
No. He gets an official title change in the second donation segment.
That's what I meant. But now, after the title change, he's Sir Dignity. I was in a shitty spot back when. I'm a much happier me these days. Love you too.
Oh,
He hasn't donated in years.
Oh, hold on. Let's de-douche.
You've been de-douched.
Keep blowing in the direction of that recorder.
Oh, geez. Don't encourage it.
Yeah. I think people love that stuff.
Don't encourage it.
Sir Marcellus in Scottsdale, Arizona, $210.12. Please don't use my real name. Okay, we didn't. You got lucky. Dear sirs, please give me a shot of your strongest job karma for new jobs I have applied to. I could really use it as my current job takes all my sweat, blood, and tears. I fear my corporate masters will next ask me for my soul. I would work someplace else, to be honest about it, if that ever happened. The funny part is I work for a company on the list of the Fortune 100 top best companies to work for.
Jeez.
Who knew marketing wasn't only for customers, but also for potential future employees, slaves.
Yeah.
Please send out some karma to all the No Agenda listeners, too. Spread that love. Sir Marcellus. Then he's got some.
He was associate executive producer, episode 463, executive producer, episode 743, 1011, and 1040. Thank you very much. Extra special jobs karma for you.
Jobs,
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 jobs.
and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
There you go.
And that wraps up our associate executive producerships for show 1047. I want to thank all these folks for making the show possible.
Yeah, thank you so much. Our producers, who we thank up front, it's just like Hollywood, where you see it on the TV shows. The people who brought in the money, they get the special mention in the front. And, of course, we want to thank as many people as possible. We'll have our second donation segment for that, $50 and above. And a reminder that we have another show coming up on Thursday. Remember us at
Dvorak.org. Sosh.NA.
Now that you know how Roe v. Wade is working, July 4th is going to be fun.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Order!
Shut up, slave!
Shut up, slave!
I have a little local color I'm going to throw in here. Just kind of slow things down a little bit. We're putting out on Highway 4, they're putting a shot spotter system.
SSTI. Great stock to play.
Yeah, actually, it's true. You mentioned it.
That thing rocketed.
It's got a long way to go. So this on the freeway. And this will be the first freeway, because, freeway shootings happen every so often.
This is the system that hears a gunshot, reports it directly to the police, and then it flips on cameras, and they can listen in and check everything immediately.
Yeah, well, this one goes a little further. It actually zooms in on the car they think the shot's coming from. It moves the cameras around in the direction of the shots.
This is Shot Spotter Plus.
And gets a license. It can read licenses.
Mm-hmm.
So let's listen to a couple of these, because there's an Ask Adam in here. Let's hear the little backgrounder on Shot Spotter 1.
Suspects involved in freeway shootings. NBC Bay Area's Christy Smith joins us live along Highway 4 with how it works and what people need to know. Christy.
The CHP is telling us that testing should be underway out here by about 11 o'clock tonight, and that could mean closures, brief delays for drivers. But they believe this is a key part in reducing freeway shootings.
We'll probably only have you stop for a minute or two and then open up the freeways right after.
They're going to be shooting left and right. So now I have an Ask Adam. There's a piece of information here I'm going to ask you at the end of this part 2.
Oops, here we go.
It's going to be a combination of live fire and blank ammunition for the different acoustics for the calibration of the shot spotter sensors.
So this is the first shot spotter installation and testing on state freeways.
The testing is a key part of a freeway security network to help officers try and pinpoint the time and location of shootings. The CHP says since 2015.
Okay, you did kind of step on the clip, so I don't know if I missed some pertinent information.
It says here's the question. Since 2015, there have been how many freeway shootings? I believe this is in Northern California, but we'll just put all of California. I think in Northern California.
In all of Northern California since when?
All the freeways, freeway shootings, shootings only.
Freeway shootings?
Yeah.
How about 10?
Okay. Play it.
The CHP says since 2015, there have been 136 freeway shootings in the Bay Area.
Yeah, that's a lot, I guess.
In the Bay Area, 136 freeway shootings in one of the areas of the country where housing is the most expensive in the world.
We're doomed.
Yeah, 136. I like the 10, though. That's the logical thing you'd think. Who knew there's 136 shootings? They should have put this system up years ago.
Wow. Well, again, consider moving.
You guys in Texas have got nothing on us when it comes to shooting it up.
Yeah, that's true. So Thursday was a show day, and of course we had the horrible shooting at the Capital Gazette in Maryland.
I do have the latest summary wrap up. If you want to play that before you make your commentary.
Yes. Which one is it?
Newspaper massacre.
Could you announce that again?
Newspaper massacre.
Tonight, the chilling oath revealed in court documents showing a years-long grudge against the Capital Gazette by the man who allegedly opened fire into its newsroom, killing 5. Jared Ramos writing in 2014 that he has sworn a legal oath that he would like to kill one of the paper's writers, and he still would. That writer, 3 years earlier, penning this article, Jared wants to be your friend, detailing the chilling online encounters between Ramos and a high school classmate. That classmate, according to her attorney leaving the state in fear. Ramos pled guilty to harassment.
He befriended her on Facebook, and he would use all the information that he gathered from her to attack her. He would tell her to do things like hang herself.
Ramos upset at the article, lashing out on Twitter in this tweet, writing that he wished 2 of the paper's editors would cease breathing.
We had actually contacted the police.
Police interviewed Ramos, but claim employees at the paper did not want to press charges because it might inflame the situation. An officer involved in the investigation writing that he did not believe that Ramos was a threat. Now Ramos is behind bars, facing 5 counts of first-degree murder as hundreds took to the streets Friday to remember the 5 people killed in the shooting Thursday. And Tom, tonight investigators hope that the suspect will cooperate with them so that they can start piecing together what allegedly turned online threats into a newsroom massacre.
Newsroom massacre.
And what I like about it is he says to the cops, "I've sworn a legal oath to kill these people." What is he talking about?
Well, oops, I did some research on that. I pulled up these court cases, and I think there's some reporting that is being omitted from the convo. But first, we need a couple of other details. It's always annoying when you hear this report just after a mass killing.
The final thing that everybody's really talking about here is the police response. It has just been incredible. The Anne Arundel County Police had been training for an active shooter situation just 1 week ago. They had a drill to prepare for a situation just like this, and they were on the scene within 60 seconds. The governor and the mayor have said that they went in without hesitating. They exhibited tremendous courage, and without them, it is almost certain that there would have been several more lives lost, several more people injured, but just a very sad scene out here. And really,
you know, one of these days they'll actually do a drill when the active shooting takes place. It's always after.
Didn't they do that once already?
No, it's always right after the drill.
I thought it was once. I thought there was like a few years back. There was one that was right. They were doing the drill right nearby while the thing was taking place.
Oh, yeah, I do recall.
Remember that?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly which one it was. And then there was a lot of confusion. So, you know, the response time was 90 seconds, then it was 60 seconds, and then they transported, and they were there immediately. Lots of things. And then this.
The Chicago Police Department, in conjunction with the CTA, are adding 50 new high-tech cameras to CTA stops along the Red Line, both inside and outside of the stations, and on the trains themselves.
Following stations will be...
I'm sorry. This is a completely wrong clip. I'm so sorry. This is the one I meant to play.
After 5 people were fatally shot, police closed in and found Ramos hiding under a desk. But for hours after arresting him, they had no idea who he was. He said almost nothing. So they used the state's facial recognition system to identify him, leading to a search of his apartment, where investigators say they found signs that he planned the attack well in advance.
So the other clip, which I played out of order, was, you know, this facial recognition is coming into play. And although this was a police database, I'm sure, what is happening now is that Facebook finally has everybody. You too, Dvorak. You know, you go to a meetup, you're in the database. Your face is scanned. It's in the database.
Yeah, I'm aware of this.
Of course, the pictures people upload, that is the most data you give away, in my opinion.
I don't upload stuff like that.
No, I'm not accusing you of that. As a public,
people are foolish to do it.
As a public service, I'm saying you give away so much information by uploading your pictures to these services. I mean, they're not just looking at facial recognition. Does he have a dog? Where are you? Are you on vacation? Who else is in the picture? There's tons of information that is.
If I was a professional criminal robbing people, oh man, this is it's a gold mine era.
MSNBC did the best job, I think, right as this occurred, of blaming it on the president. I thought that was just, they did such a good job that I clipped it for us, and here we go.
Clint, you and I talked a little earlier about whether or not.
And this is all with the scenes of the cops there, and everything's unfolding, so they're kind of just voiceover, but here you go.
This might be a targeted killing of journalists, and we don't have that information right now. What we do know is that the NYPD has deployed counterterrorism units to media organizations in New York. The president was asked about his past criticism of the media. He has said, by the way, the president of the United States has said the media is the enemy.
No. I just got to stop it to remind us, you said fake news is the enemy of the people. Never said that. Wolf Blitzer took this and said,
this is another example of a meme that's being perpetrated to get people to vote Democrat.
Asked about the president's criticism now, just on his way back from Wisconsin, the president and his staff, Sarah Huckabee Sanders said, the president and his staff do not believe violence is acceptable in any situation, and we stand by that. But Clint, let's just call a spade a spade. The press is under some pressure, and for the moment, you can't put out of your mind the fact that this was a shooting at a newspaper.
Now, this is the situation that unfolds in this case. I find extremely interesting because journalists take on a new stance, and sometimes they don't even get out of it. But this idea that they're being targeted, that they are the enemy of the people, and this is factually incorrect. They've completely made this up. Although I can see if you're not a good journalist and you just gloss over things, you may see fake news and read the media. But I think the president, in fact, says there are many good people in the media. Fake news is the enemy of the people. Yes.
I got into a debate with my Lib-Joe
Your
buddies.
Lib-Joes, oh boy, okay.
And one of them goes on and says, I calmed him down, even though if you just listen to the show.
What was he upset about?
He was upset about this shooting, saying that this is targeting journalists. It's pretty much what the MSNBC people said. We've got to make a big fuss about this.
Uh-huh.
And I said, no, that's just the opposite. Making a big fuss about school shootings has resulted in what? More school shootings. This is just one of these things. It's almost like a fad amongst the clinically insane.
Mm-hmm.
You start. It's the same as remember the postal workers some years back when they're going postal was a big deal, became a meme, and they would get more and more of these shootings until they stopped covering it.
Yeah.
I said, unless you want to get a bunch of journalists killed, I just shut up about it.
You'll hear this Ali Vesher, I think his name is. You'll hear him say something so bizarre because he can't get it out of his mind that he actually wants this to be. He wants this to be a targeted shooting against journalists and the media in general. You'll hear him say it.
Can't put out of your mind the fact that this was a shooting at a newspaper. I don't know what I wish it to be. I don't want it to be a domestic situation. I don't want it to be somebody with a grudge against their boss. But we cannot discount the idea that there may be a targeting.
Now, if he says, I don't want it to be a domestic situation.
Wow, that is a great catch.
You know, I mean, I think I know
what he's saying. I don't want it to be anything but what it is, which is a shooting of a journalist.
Yes, you could interpret it a different way.
I don't want it to be what it is. I want it to be this. I want it to be
yeah. I mean,
ridiculous.
Is that the truth that just wanted to come out, or am I just hearing this?
The truth wanted to come out is sick.
Is it possible that I'm just in the wrong dimension and I hear it a different way? That people clearly he's talking about, it could be anything. He doesn't want it to be anybody to be hurt, but that's not really what he said.
I don't want it to be a domestic situation. I don't want it to be somebody with a grudge against their boss. But we cannot discount the idea that there may be a targeting of journalists.
Yeah,
I'm in the wrong dimension.
New ISO.
Yeah, wow. It's a troubling time in America. We've had media personalities just in the last week that have essentially advocated they like to see vigilantes go at journalists.
Who said that? Have you seen that?
I think they're taking Milo. Milo came out of context.
Milo. Ah, yes.
He said something stupid.
I got you.
He's a media personality.
Okay. So it's really the first time I think that we've had to seriously consider this in our own country. We've seen it with terrorists before, by the way. We saw it with the Charlie Hebdo attack in France, in Paris, France. And we've also seen even in the case of Comedy Central at one point was being threatened by extremists.
Now, I love this. So we've seen with journalists, we've seen it with Charlie Hebdo, which was radical terrorist Muslims who went up and shot up the newsroom because they put a depiction of Muhammad on the front page. And then Comedy Central, first of all, Comedy Central not known for its journalists. And what was that about? It was radical Islamic terrorists who were going against the South Park because they showed a cartoon depiction of Muhammad, or they were going to. And you remember that whole... So they're bringing that in as... So that is... We've seen this with Comedy Central. It has nothing to do with it. Nothing. And
these guys are unhinged.
Yes.
But this is a whole new era. It really has brought in this new aspect to it where we would traditionally look, is this workplace violence? Is this a personal grudge? We, at this point, have to really consider,
add it to the mix.
Is this something
John, we got to add it to the mix.
Is specifically targeting media and media outlets, and it's an entirely new perspective.
It is.
It's not what this was about in the least.
Well, they didn't know at this point, but they wanted it to be.
We enjoy having to cover, but we are going to cover it.
One major league category that would be set could he be attacking journalists because they are journalists or because of something they have written? And that will be a major league category.
That could certainly be over in a matter of hours if, as Jim says, that's not what this is. It is just unfortunate that in 2018, that's where our mind goes. And in fairness, part of it goes there because the president has declared that the media is the enemy of the people.
Yeah. Did you hear the last bit? Said it again. Yeah, because the media is the enemy of the people. Okay, well, you're making it up. Now, what is not really discussed is what led him to this. Yeah, there's some ancillary, like, something about a court case. But he was very upset about an article written in 2011 by staff writer Eric Thomas Hartley.
Yeah, he's not even there anymore.
No, nor is the editor at the time. But what's definitely not coming up in this conversation is how dangerous Facebag is. And I think it's a disservice that it's not being reported on. So I will read to you the article that made him mad. He sued the paper over the article over defamation. And the article is written in a snarky shit way, which is typical. And, tough luck. That's basically what the judge said. And he lost. He appealed. He lost again. They said, you may not like how the article was written, but nothing in the article was infactual. So it was a protection of the freedom of the press. But I need to read it to you because when you hear this, it's like, holy shit, get your kid off Facebook. The article was titled, Jared Wants to Be Your Friend. If you're on Facebook, you've probably gotten a friend request or message from an old high school classmate you didn't quite remember. For one woman, that experience turned into a year-long nightmare. Out of the blue, Jared Ramos wrote and thanked her for being the only person to ever say hello or be nice to him in school. Sound familiar, people? Ever receive one of those? She didn't remember him, so he sent pictures. She Googled him, found a yearbook picture, and realized they apparently did go to Arundel High together. He was having some problems, so she wrote back and tried to help, suggesting a counseling center. Mistake. Do not respond to idiots on Facebook. I just thought I was being friendly, she said. That sparked months of messages in which Ramos alternatively asked for help, called her vulgar names, and told her to kill herself. He emailed her company and tried to get her fired. She stopped writing back and told him to stop, but he continued. When she blocked him from seeing her Facebook page, he found things she wrote on other people's pages and taunted her with it, attaching screenshots of the postings to some of his emails. You're not safe on Facebook. She called police, and for months he stopped, but then he started again, nastier than ever. All this without having seen her in person since high school. They never met until they came to court a couple of months ago. Now, it goes on, but this whole drama played out over Facebook. And no one's really reporting on this part of it. Yeah, it was stalking, cyber stalking, toxic masculinity, whatever it was. But, and the article, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there's some snark in it. But I from what I could see, there was nothing factually incorrect. The only real mistake here is don't respond to morons who are saying hello to you on. Get off Facebook. It's dangerous.
Yep.
And I think someone in the media should say, hey, this is what happened, and lots of people got lucky, a lot of people didn't get lucky, and don't engage with people and get off Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat.
Journalists are on Facebook.
Yeah.
And the ones who aren't on Facebook are technologically backward, and they don't know anything about anything, and so they can't comment on it. Yeah. You're the only guy, well, me, but I have a different approach to this. You're one of the few people that can actually make what you just did with that little editorial thing you just did right there. That little that discussion.
Mm-hmm.
You're like one of two people that can do that.
And why can we do that?
Well, because we're funded by the
yes, exactly. Not by exactly,
but not by advertisers.
Yes,
or by Facebook, or by tech companies.
Now,
or by mattress firms,
or by underwear companies,
or shavers.
Oh, you want to hear a horrible face bag story? Just
sure.
All right. So my hairdresser, who cuts my hair, I see her yesterday, and she says, "Oh my God, this was a horrible thing that happened to me." Now she moved in with her boyfriend about a year ago. You know, she's 40, he's 40. Yeah, they've had relationships, etc., with other people. Now they're together, and they're very happy, and they're really making it work. And it's a good vibe. And I know because she's been cutting my hair for years, and so we talk about stuff, and so I know how she's doing. And there was a friend of hers, a male friend, in from San Francisco, and so she went out to dinner with him downtown in the city, and her boyfriend didn't go along, but he knew, he was going out and he was staying at the JW Marriott. So she gets an Uber, and she says she hugs him goodbye on the corner of Colorado and 4th. And she gets in the car. The Uber driver, young woman in her mid-20s, drives her home, and she's home. And then about 10 minutes later, the Uber comes roaring back up. The woman, is like honking her horn. The boyfriend goes out to see what's the matter. She hands him a note, and it says, your girlfriend's cheating on you because I just saw her making out with this guy before she got into my car.
What?
Yeah. Which, and just think about it. What are you going to say?
How's this a Facebook story? It sounds like an Uber horror story.
Why did I bring Facebook into it? I maybe just equate Facebook and Uber with the same thing for some reason. That's weird.
That was weird.
I'm sorry. I don't know why I did that. It was a good story, but it was in the wrong place. It was a good story,
but you kind of blew it up by calling it a Facebook horror story.
That is because I equate them as the same Silicon Valley evil, I guess. Jeez, I'm sorry. That was a brain fart.
Cross circuit to be.
All right, then back to the.
Well, okay, let's start over. But let's say, what happened was. So the Uber driver busted. How is the Uber driver even aware that she has a boyfriend?
Yeah, maybe he met her when she got home or something. But it's like, what is going on?
Why would somebody do that?
Yeah. And now, of course, that caused strife in the relationship. That's not true. Well, the Uber driver just said it.
Maybe the Uber driver was a lesbian who was hitting on her.
The Uber driver definitely had some issue. But it's just like, it's crazy. It's crazy. Stop using Facebook. Stop using Uber. Stop using all this crazy, stupid shit. Jim Acosta really did a great little bit. And the video is in the show notes. Now we're back to the Journo killing. This is a really cool piece of video because it shows him at the very back of, Trump was doing some talking up there on stage, and he's way in the back, and he's with his camera crew. He gets the camera crew to turn the light on so he's well lit for this little thing he does here.
Mr. President, will you stop calling us the enemy of the people, sir? Will you stop calling the press the enemy of the people, sir? Mr. President, will you stop calling the press the enemy of the people, sir?
All right, then he turns around, he goes to his crew, he says, okay, we're done, turn the light off. It was completely staged drama for him to look like he's speaking truth to power or some bull crap like that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's why it's fake news.
Exactly.
That's a good example. That is fake news.
And that kind of stuff is the enemy of the people.
I think, in that regard, sure, because it's trying to buffalo the public. Very, very disturbing. And Acosta is probably the worst guy. I mean, he's been pointed out a million times, but they does this. CNN loves the guy.
Yeah, he's a douche. part of the
Okay, let's go.
I'm calling it a new name, the Humpty Dumpty media. You know, they fell off the wall, 1,000 pieces, couldn't put themselves back together again. They're just done.
So Trump's going to do here. I've got an example. This is the CBS. This is where I actually have the memes that this is the woman. I made a mistake with the clip, the earlier one. This is the woman who's the college professor who's spooky in a number of ways, and she comes on CBS online. She didn't get on the real show, I don't think. And she drops these meme bombs all over the place. Well, she's a big expert on Russia and the summit coming up. So there's a summit. Trump wants to meet with Putin.
Right.
So here's a summit summary, CBS slanted one.
Vladimir Putin for a summit in Finland a little more than 2 weeks from now. Some say the meeting holds the promise for better relations between the two nations. Others fear that Mr. Trump may embolden Putin and could drive a wedge between the U.S. and its European allies. Here to discuss the summit is Kimberly Martin, professor of political science at Barnard College, Columbia University. Kimberly, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me back.
Thanks for coming back. So in this meeting between the two, Trump or Putin, does one of them hold the advantage here in diplomatic relations?
No question Putin does, because he's a very clever man. Cleverness and trying to get advantage over your opponent is something that's really valued in Russian political culture. And I mean, he's been in that position for so long and he's accomplished so much internationally. Whereas we know that Trump kind of got taken advantage of in his recent summit in North Korea. He didn't seem to get much out of Kim Jong-un.
Even if he doesn't see it that way.
Yeah, he doesn't see it that way. But really, the United States didn't get North Korea to change much of its behavior. But the U.S. gave up military exercises with South Korea for right now.
Okay, let's go over this.
Yeah, please.
So here she is with her, he got suckered because Trump's a dummy. This is Trump's a dummy thing. And so he didn't get much with North Korea. He had a meeting, which is getting a lot since no one else has been able to do this. He calmed the tensions, and Kim Jong-un, according to this woman, is just doing what he's doing. He hasn't dropped another bomb, hasn't sent off another missile. He was doing it monthly before. He immediately before the meeting, he turned over the three prisoners that were Americans, almost right off the bat without anything in exchange. And then he has, although it's not being reported much, it's being reported in the conservative press, he actually is delivering missing in action corpses.
Yeah, there are already hundreds that have been delivered, I believe.
Yes, hundreds. But meanwhile, Trump stopped the military exercises. So by this woman's standards, which I say would also be the military-industrial complex standards, Trump got nothing. He got nothing. Right. And Kim Jong-un got everything because Trump stopped the military exercises, which, as far as I'm concerned, a waste of the taxpayers' money to begin with. So what is wrong with these people to have a woman like this Kimberly woman, this professor, going on and on like this and not giving us any details whatsoever and giving us a very slanted kind of a look at things with it in mind that Putin's gonna somehow screw us. I just found it very annoying to listen to this.
Well, if you,
and by the way, she's got this face that she scrunches up. I think she's a lizard.
If you look at the Dimension B take on these stories, you can look at everything the way they look at it, and I understand what they're seeing. What they want to see is, hey, the other presidents just weren't stupid to give Kim Jong-un all this recognition on a big stage. I don't know if you saw remember that LA Times guy who got fired because he was in direct contact with CIA and propagating CIA stories.
Yeah, well, so he got caught is what happened.
Right, but he came out with a new one. I guess he works for NBC now. And so now,
that would fit.
Oh, yeah. U.S. intelligence believes North Korea is making more nuclear bomb fuel despite talks. Oh, yes. In a report on Friday, NBC said what it described as the latest U.S. intelligence assessment appeared to go counter to sentiments expressed by Donald Trump. NBC quoted 5 unidentified U.S. officials as saying that in recent months, North Korea had stepped up production of enriched uranium for nuclear weapons, even as it engaged in diplomacy with the United States. This is your deep state bullcrap right here.
What evidence do they have of this? This is the hermit kingdom. Nobody knows what's going on in the hermit kingdom. It's mysterious. Yet we know this?
Yeah. Yep.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. NBC quoted one senior, didn't really quote, but quoted one senior U.S. intelligence official, unnamed, as saying that North Korea's decision ahead of the summit to suspend nuclear and missile tests was unexpected, and the fact that two sides were taking was a positive step. However, work is ongoing to deceive us on the number of facilities, the number of weapons, the number of missiles. We are watching closely.
Oh, brother.
Right? Yeah. And AP picks that up. Reuters picks it up. And they just all, it's the old, according to the Ugandan Times. So now they're just reporting
on. That's the old trick. The CIA plant stories are it's old. This is in all the books.
Yep.
All the books.
Yep.
Talking about the ideas. You plant a story with some, sympathetic, some stooge that works for you.
Yep.
You plant a story in the Ugandan Times.
Yep.
They print it. You pick it up and use that as the source.
Or
somehow this is legit.
Or you send it off to Rach, and she's there with the Kormeister.
Joining us once again here live in studio, Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey. Senator, I wanted to ask you to stay over, in part because of your role on the Foreign Relations
They're having a sleepover
Committee. Just to get your response to this kind of shocking new report that's just broken from NBC News. I'll read you the lead. U.S. intelligence agencies believe that North Korea has increased its production of fuel for nuclear weapons at multiple secret sites in recent months. U.S. officials tell NBC News this intelligence assessment has not been previously reported. It seems to counter the sentiments expressed by President Donald Trump, who tweeted after his...
There is no intelligence assessment. There's no document that's been released.
...summit with Kim that there was no longer a nuclear threat from North Korea. Analysts at the CIA and other intelligence agencies don't see it that way, according to more than a dozen American officials who are familiar with this new assessment. What's your reaction?
There's no assessment
to that.
Well, before we even get to this stunning revelation, it was already stunning to me. If this was a movie plot and I was sitting in a film, watching a film about American foreign policy, I would have whispered to somebody, this can't happen in real life. That a president would engage with a totalitarian dictator who's murdered and slaughtered his people, call him honorable, suspend our operations, give them propaganda fuel by saying that our joint exercises are provocative. It's basically giving into their propaganda, not that this is about defending our allies, defending South Korea. There were so many gives in this, and what did we get? Things we already had. A commitment to denuclearization, no timeline, no verification protocols.
And now apparently the opposite of that if they're continuing to develop their program.
Absolutely. We didn't ask them to disclose anything before, so now we have intelligence agencies coming out and saying
They're not coming out and saying that. It's unidentified officials reported by the fired L.A. Time guy working for NBC. It's not.
Enriching uranium at a faster pace, so nothing the president said is true. We now have taken off of our maximum pressure strategy.
But this is?
We've relieved that pressure. We've undermined our allies by not informing them that we're even doing some of the actions we did. This is just a malpractice, commander-in-chief malpractice, plain and simple, and allowing this leader to continue to get over on the United States in ways that wasn't even happening under previous administrations.
Oh, God. Okay, fine. So you see,
we want peace. I mean, for God's sake, what is wrong with these people?
They want war.
They do. They're warmongers. Whatever happened to the Democrat Party that it became a warmonger party? It wasn't when I was a member of that party. What happened? What did the Democrats, what didn't they change to being pro-war? Pro-war, pro-military, pro-banks.
Yeah.
What happened? How did that work? And why does everybody put up with it? I mean, I go back to these stupid demonstrations that just happened, where you had all these people protesting absolutely a moot point.
Well, when you think about it, it's still a lot of this. The genesis of all this Trump hate is based around 1970s, 1960s hate of the Russians and fear of the Russians. So, it would make sense that they're also still protesting like Vietnam was going on.
Stop the war. Now,
what's your second clip here?
Play part 2 of the. Well, that's not as good. part two of the slanted report. I think she's got a couple more zingers in there that she has to throw in.
And we have to remember that Obama had brought up the election meddling with Putin back in September of 2016, and it did no good whatsoever because a month later, what did the Russians do? They released those Podesta emails just at a really crucial time when Trump had been accused of or had admitted that he had been engaged in some behavior that didn't make him look too savory with women. And the timing of that indicates it was a Russian ploy, and so what Obama had said a month earlier did nothing to stop Russians from doing that.
So the Russians released the Podesta emails.
Yeah.
When was this?
The Russians did it.
I would like to know when this was. If I was being interviewing this woman, I'd say, when exactly did the Russians release the Podesta emails, and what method? I mean, where? I never saw any Russian releasing anything.
No, it was Guccifer 2.0, who was Romanian. And
Guccifer was the Russians. Okay.
Yeah, that's new.
Well, she should have.
You
could have said, well, Guccifer released, and he is believed to be, a front for the Russians, but it's the Russians. I mean, you didn't see it in the Russian. This is unbelievable to me that they can't tell the truth. And of course, this is that old Dutch saying, they call Trump a liar because they're the liars.
Yep. And because
what's that saying again?
Wat je zegt met jezelf met je kop door de helft. What you say of others, yes. You are yourself. Because of our value network system that we deploy and employ on this show, we have producers who around the globe who listen to all kinds of stuff, more than we could ever do, more than any news desk could do. Quite honestly, is because of the vast, just how big it is. And Michael Zulu, I'll call him. He's been supplying me with good stuff, and he caught something on the John Batchelor show with our buddy, Professor Stephen Cohen, who we feel is really a Russian expert. He's the guy that really knows stuff. And he came up with a doozy about this whole Steele dossier, which, by the way, has never been amended or changed. And did I see that? I didn't clip it, but I think Tucker Carlson had some Russian guy on, like he was named in the Steele dossier. This is the guy that paid the Russians to hack the DNC, and so the guy's on with his lawyer, and they're chatting a little bit. He's like, "Of course I didn't do anything." And oh, by the way, not a single person has contacted me about the Steele dossier. Not law enforcement, not the Mueller investigation. What? The guy mentioned as paying for the hacking of the DNC server and arranging that is named in the dossier, yet the Mueller team has not spoken with him. That's kind of fascinating.
Weird.
So here's Cohen, and I think he's discovered something very important.
In December 2017, if people want to look it up, it was December 15th, the Washington Post published an enormous story. It ran halfway through the front section on how Obama treated the reports he was getting. Of course, he knew all about them, but the reports he was getting that the Russians had intervened to help Trump. And buried in the middle of this, it must have been 10,000 words, John, is a paragraph that says this. Now, bear in mind that the intelligence community report published in January had said they knew a lot of stuff they couldn't tell us. It said, believe us, because it was too classified. Buried in this, because this story had been based on leaks from the CIA, is this sentence. U.S. spy agencies had assembled, including an extraordinary CIA stream of intelligence that had captured Putin giving specific instructions on the operation. He doesn't use a computer or a cell phone. So it's one of the two. Either they had a listening device in his office or they had a mole. And this is in the Washington Post. And by the way, in its editorial following up 2 days later, it's more explicit. It says American intelligence had intelligence from inside the Kremlin, close quote. So let me ask you a question. Would you say, if you were running American intelligence, that was a really valuable asset you had there? Would you leak it to the Washington Post so the Russians could kill the guy? All right. So what do you think this was? I ask you. Either Whoever leaked this to the Washington Post and the CIA has committed one of the great intelligence felonies, probably would go to prison for 25 years. But has there been an investigation of who leaked this, or they just made it up?
I think that's a very good point.
Yeah, they just made it up.
Right. But maybe we should be looking.
Because, in fact, it is a breach.
Yeah. Quite a big one.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they just made it up.
Right, but
again, like I said about 3 minutes ago, you are what you say others are, and that's what they're doing. They're just lying.
I need to teach you to say it in Dutch.
I mean, I want to follow up on the story that came up about the Trump and the toilets, the gold toilet.
The gold toilet, from the museum. Mm-hmm.
Supposedly, it was done at the Guggenheim. They swapped something and he put a gold. It's bogus. The story is completely made out of thin air. Nobody ever followed up on it. It's just ridiculous because I tried to get the Guggenheim to talk about it and they refused to because it's nuts.
They wouldn't talk about it. Yeah. Oh, well. Meanwhile, that remember Reality Winner? Do you remember her? Does the name ring any bell? Reality Winner?
Yeah.
Yeah, this was.
You can't forget her name. I can't forget what it was about.
But, she was busted for leaking confidential documents to the. Well, here's the story.
Former Air Force linguist and NSA contractor Reality Winner pleaded guilty Tuesday to charges of leaking classified information. Winner entered her plea in Augusta, Georgia's federal district court as a part of an agreement with prosecutors for a 63-month prison sentence. Wow. She is now 26 and has been behind bars for the past year after mailing top-secret documents to an online media source in 2017.
I hope that people don't judge her by this one action, by this one mistake.
Billy Winter Davis sat quietly in the courtroom while her daughter entered her plea. She spoke out moments after the hearing.
It hurts to know that she's going to be serving a 5-year prison sentence. It hurts. But at least now we know. At least now we know we can move forward. We can start serving that time. We can start serving that sentence.
Winner's decision to plead guilty to the felony count is seen as a win for the Trump administration in its rigorous pursuit of leakers. No date has yet been set for the sentencing hearing.
That's so sad. This young girl just got wrapped up in the insanity. 5 years in the brink. And no one coming to her defense.
No, nobody even brings it up. I forgot all about it until you mentioned it.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things. And there's this other article that has come out here and there. I don't know if it's big news yet, but the NSA has said to have deleted more than 685 million call records the government obtained since 2015. I'll just say it. There was some kind of glitch, or as they call it, technical irregularities in some data received from telecommunication service providers. It also said the irregularities resulted in the NSA obtaining some call details it was not authorized to receive. But we didn't get any content, they say, right after that. So they're purging. We're purging. That's worrisome.
Yeah, I wonder. This story, I saw it. I didn't want to comment.
But here's the thing. They're saying you delete. Don't you just save a copy, put it in cold storage? You really think that the data gets deleted? And what is the point? I mean,
it must.
What is the point? They didn't have to say anything. They could have gone, "Oh crap, that's no good."
They could have said nothing. I think it was corrupted. That's what, and it was deleted.
Oh, it was deleted.
You've run into this situation. You got a bunch of corrupted data, and oh my God, this hard disk is no good.
Right. So maybe what happened? The database got corrupted, and of course they didn't have a backup. I don't know. None of it sounds right.
No, I'm not as suspicious of the NSA anymore, though. Ever since the incident where supposedly, as he listened to the right people, it was the NSA guy, Rogers, who is the one who tipped off Trump
off. Yeah, that's true.
Trump off as to the place being bugged.
That's true.
So I have to give them a pass on anything.
I spoke to Pachenik the other day, and he agreed on that part. I also said, why are they talking about Kelly resigning? He's tired. He set it all up. He says the basis is there.
No. You're not listening to the news. He's not retiring.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Trump's getting rid of him.
No,
haven't you noticed this?
No, basically, Pachanik, who's psychologist, psyop type guy, he said, "Do you know how tiring it is to psychologically try and control a guy like Trump 24 hours a day?" He says Kelly is burned out. It's impossible. Trump barely sleeps. He barely sleeps. He's so jacked. Hyperkinetic.
His thing is, there's other guys I've heard of. They just really pretty much work on 4 hours or less.
Oh, that's crazy.
Sleep a day.
Yeah. Well, on show days, we're kind of there.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh, yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, No Agenda in the morning.
Indeed. So we do have a few people to thank for show 1047, starting with Sir Paul from Horseheads in Horseheads, New York, 144845. He is, I will read his note because he's a regular. Sir Paul donates 14845, the zip code of Horseheads, New York, in honor of Ed and Brenda from Horseheads Brewing on their retirement. Sadly, the brewery will be closing.
Oh.
If there's a knighting ceremony today, can the Feast of the Round Table include Horseheads Pumpkin Ale?
Oh, that's an interesting idea.
It will be missed. No, that's too bad. Things change.
Things do change. But I'll put it on.
They never change for the better. Yes.
I'll put it on the list. Hold on a second. What is it? Horseheads Ale?
Horseheads Pumpkin Ale.
Okay. I got it. I poured it already. Nice head.
Sir Jimmy Goots. No, I'm not saying the joke. Sir Jimmy Goots of the Hollow Books in Summerfield, North Carolina.
Yeah. Now, let me just talk about Sir Jimmy for a moment. We've known Sir Jimmy on this show for what?
6, 7 years.
7, 8 years, I'd say. Yeah. And both of us have multiple copies of his fantastic product, Hollow Books, where he has this process where he takes a real book, hollows it out, and then, but the way he glues the pages, it looks so authentic and it's sturdy, and you can put anything you want in there. It's a great product.
He even sent us the ones that hold a small gun.
Yeah, yes, and even a bigger gun, actually. Yeah.
Anyway, he's at hollowbooks.com and freehollowbooks.com.
But he apparently just delivered 1,000 to somebody.
Yeah, I don't know why. CIA.
No. Here it is. It's a shout out to Raphael at Alma Advertising in Miami. Maybe a listener will get one if they buy a new Sprint phone during the World Cup promo they're running. You see, he sold 1,000 to Sprint.
Nice.
Good work.
Yeah.
Good
anyway,
work.
People out there, everyone needs a hollow book.
Yeah, they are a fantastic product. Freehollowbooks.com.
Put some cash in there, put in the books. No one will ever tell. These things are dynamite.
Especially if you put it in Atlas Shrugged, which no one will touch.
That's for sure.
I don't want to touch that book.
Stephen Fitzpatrick, $111.11. ITM, best podcast in the universe. Thank you for your courage. 3333. Vladimir Putin's finally contributed. Somehow he lives in Wellington, New Zealand. Don't know how. $100. Michael Delosier in Marysville, Tennessee, 9009. Sir Brent, $86. Sir Brent, the trusted integer.
Yo.
Eric Crawford in Lubbock, Texas, 8338. Palindrome. Tony Tanzian, Tigard, Oregon, 8008.
Boo.
The only one. Mario Schnepp. In Zurich.
Hey, we don't get a lot from Switzerland. What does he say here? Thanks for your outstanding product. Me and my hot Swedish wife are no longer brainwashed slaves. Adam's cool and positive, well-trained VJ voice shoots like 2 double espressos in my brain, while John's dry comments get me back to earth. I think it's a compliment. I remember to donate after I heard a kid trying to play the flute. Ha! It's working. It's working. Any wind instrument you hear will remind you to donate. I live the American dream in Switzerland of just getting by. I'm looking forward to that meetup in Zurich John's thinking about. as a restaurant owner, I would be happy to make it make it happen in my place and show you a variety of Swiss wines. And
I will say, that I had go on.
Some homegrown treats for Adam. Hey-o.
I think we know what we're talking there about there.
Mm-hmm.
Comes with the Rihanna album. I had a helicopter tour, actually, of Switzerland, part of Switzerland, the mountainous areas. And they dropped us off into a little Swiss village that was one of the wine growing areas, including some, I don't have the names at the top of my head because these are not wines that you see a lot, but one of the big wine operations there. And we had a lot of Swiss wines, mostly whites, and a lot of good sweet wines, including a bottle of glacier wine. And I still have a bottle of that. And I think Swiss wines are quite good.
Well, he's offering up his restaurant as the place du jour.
I'm booking right now. We're going to do this.
And I have a question for you regarding meetups. So Tina's she's sick and tired of me. She's like, I'm gonna arrange this meetup. So
what meetup?
The Austin, Texas meetup.
Oh, okay.
In August. Here's my question. We should do this probably on a Saturday, don't you think? Because I have a feeling Texas is big. A lot of people.
Friday is the day that everyone wants to do it in Washington.
Really? Because I think that I would think
they're still at work. They're not. People don't want to. There are a lot of people coming in a long ways from meetups into a town where they work, and they can do Friday night, but then they have to go home. They don't want to come all the way back into town on a Saturday. That's the problem with the West Coast.
Okay. Well, I think here people would want to come from all over Texas, which can take you a day. As well as Oklahoma, Arkansas, who knows?
Okay, we'll talk about this later.
Okay.
Austin Wilson's in Sammamish, Washington, 7418. Now, these are the people that are celebrating the July the 4th, 7418. Now, I also offered the 70. Somebody put 71. No, 70. I don't know what the 7118 is, but whatever.
Oh, it was supposed to be 70.
7118 is Canada. Okay, that's Canada
Day.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Americans celebrating 4th of July. The huge
patriotic audience,
promotional event. I have to say, I can't believe how 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people could be so patriotic. In Canada, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. The Americans win by 1.
Woo!
By 1.
Good work, Yanks.
5-4.
Close call.
Yeah, 5-4. Okay, well, let me read off the names of the Americans who wished the country a happy birthday on July 4th coming up. Austin Wilson in Sammamish, Washington. Sir Charles Walters in Schaumburg, Illinois. And he's got a call it. He's been a douchebag for some. What does he say here? He's been a douchebag. I like a douchebag call. He wants a douchebag call out for himself and then a de-douching.
You've been de-douched.
Well, it's Sir Charles.
How can he be a douchebag producer? He's a sir, so he's got that.
It's kind of inappropriate use of the douchebag, but he's a knight. So what are you going to do?
No self-douchebagging anymore. That was it.
That's it. Self-douchebaggery is off the table.
Daniel in Westminster, Colorado, 7418. Sir Tom. Hello.
News bomb.
Yes. Hello.
Sir Thomas Newsby. Yeah, but you were Archduke of the FEMA Region 3 in Virginia Beach, Virginia, came in with a vote for the USA. He says worldwide naval bases. Everyone wishes a hump day of bad choices and mixed with day drinking. Okay, he just wants everyone to get drunk on the 4th of July. So it's a lot of people take a couple of days off. I think there'll be not that many listeners. Sir Dirtbag Dave in Concord, California. He says happy 4th of July to the Americans. Now we go to Canada, even though we have somebody from Virginia who just News Bomb comes in with a Canada vote.
No, I just got rid of the News Bomb. Oh, damn it. All right, let's do a different one. Here we go. News Bomb!
Okay, News Bomb. Well, let's start with Isaac Yang in 7118. He's in Canada somewhere. General karma for all the Canucks listening. Put that at the end. Pat Deary in Sarnia, Ontario. No note, no jingles, no karma. Nussbaum from Virginia Beach this time says, raising a kokanee and wishing I was in the sticky wicket in Victoria.
Nussbaum!
I believe there's if I'm not mistaken, it's a bar in Victoria. Victoria, by the way, is the greatest little city on the West Coast. Paul Schneider in Edmonton, Alberta. That's it. That wraps up our Canadians. Thank you very much,
Canadians,
for this great support we get when we do these promotions. Robert Hart, something I guess is just a mess on the screen because of Unicode. But his last name is Ruben Hansen with some Norwegian stuff in the middle. From Norway, 6969. Sir Gott Nate and Sebastopol, 6969. Robert Bruckner, 5555. April Bierig in Amboy, Minnesota. And she actually sent a note in, which I do feel I should read.
All right.
And of course, I misplaced it immediately before we got to the segment. I'm looking at where's my clip list?
I don't know.
Oh, I know where it is. There it is. It's down here.
In charge of that?
No, I was reading the Clint Watts thing. So she sent a card. She always sends a card with a Tweety bird on it. And her name's April, so I'm guessing she likes Tweety birds. She says, thank you. You two make living a little bit easier with every show.
Wow. Thank you. That's why I get up in the morning, and to hear that.
And she's going to be a Dame Triple Deuce eventually. She's so it's a card, nice little card. I thought that was a cute note. We did have another note from somebody I want to read. Which doesn't really make a lot of sense, but I want to read it, but not right now. We're going to. Anyway, she's in Amboy, Minnesota. Tyler, and then we got the $50 donors. I'll get them out of the way. With Tyler Schimpf in Bothell, and the other $50 donor. There's no more.
That's it. Only 150. That doesn't happen very often.
I've never seen it before. So this guy writes a note. This is Kutemeyer, Kutemeier, that guy.
Kutemeyer, which is a very bad thing in Dutch. Kutemeyer.
Yeah.
Which is
says, I made my donation. Quite disappointed with Adam about his comments about my last name.
Well, I can't help it. He's disappointed.
Very disappointed.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
we make fun of everybody's name. We make fun of everybody and everybody's name. And now he decides to complain?
Yes, because it's his name.
Well, I'm sorry. I won't ever do it again.
Well, apparently not, because he's not going to donate anymore. That's the way I see it.
Yeah. Well, I apologize to the company.
I want to thank. He apologized profusely. I want to thank everybody who contributed here to produce show 1047. It really helps.
And that does it for our disappointed letter segment. I want to thank everyone who supported this show, episode 1047 of the No Agenda podcast. Some call it the best podcast in the universe. I think they're right. Yeah, it's nothing like us, baby. And of course, I want to thank everyone who came in under $50, under the sole $50 donor. And those are people who have subscriptions and also want to be anonymous. So please go to Dvorak.org/NA and remember us for the show which we have coming up on Thursday.
Dvorak.org/NA.
As requested.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs. You've got karma.
And, well, we'll do this right now.
Title changes. Turn and face the slave.
Title changes. Don't want to be a douchebag. Yeah, we have no birthdays today, strangely. So only one title change. Sir Whatever becomes Sir Dignity. And that's because he was in a crappy place before, but he has upped the ante and he has changed his title, which will be reflected on all peerage listings and maps across Gitmo Nation. Sir Dignity, thank you very much. Then we have our two knights for today. So we do need blades. Blades.
Got it.
Yeah. Where? Oh, there you go. Got it.
Stuck.
All right. What we need is David March up here on stage. And somewhere in the stage in the sky, his dad will be with us today for this special nighting for 2 nights on the No Agenda show. Thank you, David March, for not only supporting the show in the amount of $1,000 in your name, but also in your dad's name and in his memory. So I hereby am very proud to pronounce the Sir Karantoff of the Electric City and Sir Romano Marchi of the Electric City for you. We've got Horsehead Pumpkin Ale, Parliaments and Pale Ale, Waifus and Waffles, Pug and Poi, Rabbit Meat and Goat Milk, Ginger Ale and Gerbils, Bong Hits and Bourbon, and of course, Mutton and Mead. And there's 2 rings, so if you want, we'll be happy to send off a second ring for your dad, although he won't be wearing it in the physical world, but I think it'd be appropriate to have that. So go to noagendanation.com/rings. Eric the Shill will set you up and get that off to you. And thank you for supporting the show. Thank you, everybody else. It is very much appreciated. This clip I've been holding on to for a couple of shows, just haven't gotten to it. Conrad Black. And now I've had this clip so long, I forgot who he is.
Conrad Black was a major publisher that got busted for one thing or another for some political reasons, I believe. He was a big Canadian, super rich Canadian publishing guy. Then he ended up in jail.
Well, he had something to say about what Trump is doing, and I've been waiting to play this, and I think it might have some reason to play it now.
What was needed was a bloodless civil war to clean up the Washington sleaze factory. The entire government of the United States had become a shambles. Let me remind you, in the previous 20 years, you had the greatest economic crisis since the 1930s, brought on by bad American policy, both parties, both branches of government. You had virtually the entire conventional land forces capability of the United States militarily mired in the Middle East for 15 years in order chiefly to hand over the main influence over Iraq to Iran, which is the last thing they wanted. He produced this humanitarian crisis where millions of desperate people were scrambling for their lives and turning up in the shores of Italy and into Central Europe and so forth, all caused by utter incompetence in American policymaking. You had the decline of GDP per capita growth in the United States from 4.5% under Reagan, 3.9% under Clinton, 2% under George W. Bush, 1% under Obama. The country was a pressure cooker. Poverty went up, violence rose, discontent rose, but our great national media in the United States didn't notice it, and Trump said it is all rotten. We've got to clean it all up. Wall Street, Hollywood, the national media, the lobbyists, campaign financing, all factions of both parties, they're all useless. We've got to get rid of them. And he's doing it, and it's a war.
So he's saying Trump is draining the swamp, which may be true. The reason I played this now is because I keep getting engaged, or people try to engage me, and I hate it when you do that on Twitter because it's not an appropriate place.
You're already engaged.
With what?
Tina.
The engagement around QAnon.
Oh, jeez.
And they keep bringing it up like, yeah, man, well, you, MAGA, okay, well, he's draining the swamp. Pedo Bear, child traffickers, Clinton. I sound like Max Kaiser there. I did pretty good on that. And I just want to point out why, just another reason why I think this is bullcrap. And so what I'm hearing from people is, QAnon is close to the president, draining the swamp, dropping breadcrumbs for us to follow the white rabbit so we can figure out the clues.
Just tell us where the white rabbit is.
Thank you. What I keep saying is,
I don't
please
dropping breadcrumbs.
Tell me something predict something. Let me know what's going to happen because QAnon said so, and then we'll see if it happens. And I think this kind of started really garnering steam in the alternative media with Pizzagate. This was also, I think, was this also not a QAnon thing, the whole Pizzagate story?
You're asking the wrong guy.
I can't, but I keep saying, show me some victims of this. And here's why I think it's bullcrap. If QAnon was real, then Q would have dropped some breadcrumbs regarding Operation Broken Heart, which you didn't even hear of, which no one spoke about, which not a single QAnon follower, aggregator, 4chan, hussy-wussy put anything about. And this is from June 12th. 2,300 suspected online child sex traffickers and offenders were arrested during Operation Broken Heart. 25,200 sexual abuse complaints.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a huge operation.
Massive
operation. Where was Q? You're telling me there was not a single elitist in this thing? There's not a single person of any standing in this, more than 2,000 people arrested. And Q didn't have anything on it? Bullshit. So fuck off with your Q. I'm sick and tired of it. Sorry. I lost myself there. Makes me so tired. Q, by the way, I know who he is. You know who Q is. We all know who Q is. Q is Satoshi Nakamoto. Q invented Bitcoin.
Yeah, well, that's about right.
And if you disagree with what I'm saying, email john@dvorak.org and tell him I'm wrong.
I don't want to hear from I mean, I've been pretty good at staying out of this little, I don't know what to call it, conflagration between you and these guys. And I've looked at this stuff. I look at this stuff every so often, and it's like, it's very entertaining. It's very entertaining, but I don't see that it's anything but just clever writing and some funny hinting. It's just clever. It's very... Yeah.
It's very clever.
Somebody's keeping up a nice ruse. I don't know who it is. I have no idea.
But it's useless unless you're going to say to me, "This is going to happen," and in the next day or next hour, I'll take an hour, or the next week, what was predicted happens. Otherwise, what is it? It's just someone confirming that. I mean, they literally have videos of Sarah Sanders Huckabee waving her arms and then Trump waving his arms, and the motion they wave their arms. They say, look, they just drew a Q in the air. There's the clue.
Oh, well, I haven't seen that.
It's my favorite. Anyway.
Yeah, well, that's nuts. That's Dimension C.
It's something. I don't know what it is.
So I got a couple of clips of rap here.
Mm-hmm.
I've been trying to get these out of the way. We can go with them. I just thought it was interesting because we have a China buyout situation that's getting a little out of control. You know, Chinese keep buying and buying and buying. And I want to play this. This is the clip that triggers the next two clips. I got 3 clips. This is China buyout. This is the business report that shows up on PBS.
Investors who are worried about a trade war got some good news today. The White House announcing that it will use its current tools with some enhancements that have bipartisan support in Congress to restrict Chinese investments that they think threaten national security. This legislation amplifies the mandate of an organization called CFIUS, which stands for the Committee on Foreign Investments in the United States. Up until now, CFIUS was narrowly focused on foreign buyers of U.S. companies with a focus on protecting U.S. technology. In the past, CFIUS has rejected several tech deals, including Broadcom's attempt to purchase U.S. semiconductor maker Qualcomm and a bid for Lattice Semiconductor from a group of Chinese investors. Now, among other things, the administration can also look at joint ventures, both here in the United States and overseas. The Treasury Secretary is always the head of CFIUS, and today he said China will be singled out simply because the U.S. has a very large trade deficit with that country. There's wide bipartisan support for this legislation. Just yesterday, the House voted 400-2 in its favor.
I'd like to know who the 2 were. I haven't looked it up.
Yeah.
But this is Broadcom was one of these companies that was bought by the Chinese. The Chinese have never had to really do a lot of industrial espionage when they can just buy the company.
Right. Done.
And then you have all the intellectual property, all the patents and all the stuff that really should be protected and should be part of this.
I think this is a red herring. I keep hearing this, the stealing intellectual property.
No, this is not a red herring. It's been going on for years. That's why I want to skip to Maria Bartoloma, and who's discussing this with an expert.
Do you mean Bartiromo, or is it?
Yeah, Bartolomo.
The money honey.
I did a lot of work at CNBC and never
pronounced her name right.
That's probably the reason why.
Yeah.
So let's play. This is the Chinese breakdown. China 1.
Property rights, because basically China has been stealing our intellectual property for decades.
Yes.
And it doesn't really matter if they buy more agricultural products or energy. That doesn't solve the biggest issue of them all, which is the fact that China is stealing our technology.
Yes.
How do you stop that? They won't even admit that they're doing it.
No, and you mentioned earlier when we were speaking about when you go to China or you
you go to Russia, you don't bring your own phones, you don't bring your own computers for fear that there would be invasion and privacy.
Right. As soon as you get into their airspace, they have access to everything, and they use it.
Yeah.
Whoa. Imagine, it must be that 9/11 airspace where you can make phone calls from 10,000 feet. Huh?
That's a bit hysterical. But the second part of this thing really brings the problem to the fore.
I think China probably is looking at world dominance through economics, not through war or power. They have a philosophy here in the U.S. When I had like over 40 portfolio companies with a private equity group, they would buy in, buy up, and then buy out. So they recognize they may not have the management talent or the expertise, so they buy a piece, they buy up, and then they eventually buy out to be able to plant a flag here in the U.S. And if you look at some of the recent dispositions, and there are a lot of dispositions coming out, a lot of carve-outs. If you look at GE, for example, sold their appliance business to China. There's rumors that they're selling their lighting business to China. So, again, whether that results in some IP transfer, surely it will.
Right.
And then they'll come back and be pretty competitive.
Because what I wrote in the op-ed was the best you can do in terms of China as an American company is get 49% of a joint venture.
Yes.
Once you get that 49% of a joint venture, the Chinese government says to you, okay, give us your technology. Show us how you do it.
Yes.
Where's the innovation? And then you just transfer your technology there, and in just a few years, you'll have a competitor.
Okay.
I believe this has been going on for a while. I don't think it's a red herring at all. But I never heard the term buy in, buy up, buy out, which I think is what they try to do with companies. That's how they got Broadcom. Broadcom's a major semiconductor operation.
Right.
And the Chinese own them. And this is happening all over the place where these Chinese are thinking, well, we can't develop this on our own, so we'll just buy somebody that's already got it developed. And they make an offer you can't refuse.
Right. So that's transfer, but that's willful transfer. It's not like they're stealing
it's dumb.
Yeah, but it's
no,
not
they're not stealing it. I agree with that. That's where she made a mistake. She said they're stealing it.
Yeah.
They're not stealing it.
No, it's being sold.
We're giving it to them.
There's two things about China I wanted to mention. One, there was a big fracas in China over an actress, and she was apparently, because and this will piss off the Hollywood types, because China basically owns a lot of Hollywood now. They got the big studios, they own the theaters. Richard Gere will never work again ever in Hollywood ever since he talked up Tibet. So China really runs the show.
That's probably true.
But now there's this government regulation that's come into place because of one actress who was somehow funneling profits off into her back pocket through some shell companies. But all actors in China must make the same amount of money. But I wonder how that's going to go over with the Hollywood set.
That's interesting.
It could carry over, or is it just?
Well, it could because of if you think about it, because right now there's this. I want to get paid the same amount. I want to get paid the same amount. The man's getting more than I am, and so let's just standardize all pay to some
$50,000
low level.
$50,000. Enjoy that.
Now, $50,000. Have fun.
Now, the other thing Pachenik was talking about when I talked to him is, and maybe you would know this. Apparently, the Chinese government has pumped like some $300 billion into their economy. Have you heard about this?
They've been doing that constantly. To prop it up.
Yeah, but it's like some crazy amount. And the whole reason Trump had to, and I don't know if this is true, the whole reason Trump had to reverse the ZTE ruling was because that could actually start to topple the Chinese economy. And that's why Xi was like, "Holy shit, man! You got to hook us up. We can't have this happen right now."
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, that's what Pachenik said. I'm.
It's an interesting thesis.
I liked it. It's like, yeah, why else would you? Because Trump was talking about 77,000 jobs, and we can't do this to their economy. And of course, we can't. We don't want China to implode. That would be bad. But it could be. No. He might be using
especially
that
if it's taken over by the military.
But if that's true, then we might have the upper hand pretty soon. If we don't already.
We might already.
I mean, Pachenik went off on a whole nother, old white guy rant with me, so I couldn't bring him back to that. He had a whole bunch of other things to say.
Well, I'm glad you're keeping in touch with them.
Oh, of course. I always
better than QAnon.
Yeah. Well, not much, because I called them up and left a voicemail message. And I said, "You're the worst handler ever." I said, "I got to call you? Come on." Now, there was a study. This is switching topics here. I'm very excited about this. There was a study at the University of Texas, and the result of the study shows that the mere presence of your smartphone in your vicinity reduces your brain power. And I want to explain this study that they did.
That must be a genius.
Exactly. Professor Adrian Ward conducted experiments with nearly 800 smartphone users in an attempt to measure for the first time how well people can complete tasks when they have their smartphones nearby, even when they're not using them. And in one experiment, the researchers asked study participants to sit at a computer and take a series of tests that required full concentration in order to score well. The tests were geared to measure participants' available cognitive capacity, that is, the brain's ability to hold and process data at any given time. Before beginning, participants were randomly instructed to place their smartphones either on the desk face down, in their pocket or personal bag, or in another room. All participants were instructed to turn their phones to silent. The researchers found that participants with their phones in another room significantly outperformed those with their phones at the desk, and they also did slightly outperform those participants who had kept their phones in a pocket or a bag. The findings suggest that the mere presence of one's smartphone reduces available cognitive capacity and impairs cognitive functioning, even though people feel they're giving the full attention and focus to the task at hand. Quote, your conscious mind isn't thinking about your smartphone, but that process, the process of requiring yourself to not think about something, uses up some of your limited cognitive resources. It is literally a brain drain. How about that?
I'm not surprised.
I mean, neither am I. And this is part of, what going OTG is about is, it's anti-tracking and pro-sanity. And I would totally believe that. You
can ask me where my phone is right now. Ask me.
Hey, John?
Yeah?
Hey, John?
What?
Where's your phone?
I don't know.
In another experiment, researchers looked at how a person's self-reported smartphone dependence, or how strongly a person feels he or she needs to have a smartphone in order to get through a typical day, affected cognitive capacity. Participants performed the same series of computer-based tests as the first group and were randomly assigned to keep their smartphones either in sight on the desk face up, in a pocket or bag, or in another room. In this experiment, some participants were also instructed to turn off their phones. The researchers found that participants who were the most dependent on their smartphones performed worse compared with their less dependent peers, but only when they kept their smartphones on the desk or in their pocket or bag. Ward and his colleagues also found it didn't matter whether a person's smartphone was turned on or off, whether it was lying face up on the desk or face down. Having a smartphone within sight or within easy reach reduces the person's ability to focus and perform tasks because part of their brain is actively working on not picking up the phone. I rest my case, Your Honor.
Wow. Boy, that's good. So you got to get me a link to that.
You bet.
I'm pulling that one out at dinner tonight.
Whenever Dad says he's pulling one out at dinner, the kids get worried.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got one for you then. Not quite as good as that. That was outstanding. But here, we got a new thing going on. You hear about the Amazon delivery vans?
I don't know. I think we have them in Austin, so I can't wait to hear about it.
What? Amazon is launching something new to expand its delivery services. It's called the Delivery Partners Program, and here's how it works. Entrepreneurs can buy what are being called Amazon Partner Vans. They would use those vans to pick up packages from one of 75 Amazon delivery stations. Those owners would be in charge of their own delivery service to get Amazon packages where they need to go.
Individuals can start their own package delivery business with as little as $10,000 and earn up to $300,000 operating a delivery fleet of 40 vehicles.
Amazon says it's not replacing UPS or FedEx. It just has more work than the drivers can handle.
It's going to be interesting. It's sort of like the Uberization of the delivery service.
Exactly. It'll be interesting to see how many people jump on that.
Yeah. I'm going to jump right on that. Can't wait to start my own Amazon delivery van service. Jeez. There are people who use their own van to drive Amazon packages around Austin. I know because I've seen them.
I've seen them. They have them here, too.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the Amazon van, but they showed it in the video. It's a blue van with the Prime thing on the side.
Yeah, smiley face, A to Z.
Smiley face. The sneer. It's a sneer.
It's a sneer. They're really sneering at you.
Yeah, it's sneering at you. Take another look at it. Don't think of it as a smiley face. Think of it as a sneer.
You know, it's not talked about a lot, but I'm very curious to see what Bezos and Buffett are going to do with healthcare. You know, they're brewing on something really big.
Well,
they got some swanky CEO in there and everything.
Yeah, they expect to take over. It's mostly about drug delivery.
Yeah.
It sunk the stocks of CVS and Walgreens Boots and the other operation.
Yeah, they took a good hit.
Yeah, which makes, who knows? I don't know.
Those guys are smart, though. Yeah, well, those guys are smart.
The problem is you can only keep so many balls in the air.
Yeah, I hear you.
I know,
especially
Bezos'
big balls
are up there.
Big, huge. A couple social justice warrior updates, just so we can keep up with the times.
Yeah,
stuff we should be saying and doing, so we don't offend people unnecessarily.
We have to be careful.
Very careful. Jazz Jennings is a transgender activist. Jazz, very high-profile teen activist. And Jazz did own a documentary. I Am Jazz. This is like an ongoing documentary. So Jazz Jennings has completed their transition, but you have to know how to say it right.
Uh-oh.
Because what would you call this procedure if you have your gender changed? What is the proper way to describe that kind of procedure, medical procedure?
Well, I think the way they call it is gender reassignment.
That is the old thinking, Mr. Dvorak.
Oh, no. Old thinking?
Is the old thinking. Yes. I will freely admit, I'm a younger man than you, still old and white. And cis. Gender confirmation surgery is the new term. Confirmation surgery. Don't you love that?
Gender confirmation surgery.
And Tina's going to send me some examples, but she says twice now already she has received email. Now, she's in the marketing communications business. She's the chief marketing officer here of the Ronald McDonald House, who has received multiple emails where people put their preferred pronouns in their email signature.
Oh, how you do that?
You just put in their preferred pronoun. But here's the kicker. The one that she told me about, and she says she has a couple, she's sending them to me. Preferred pronoun was her, hers, and she. So just, straight up cisgender.
You shouldn't have to do that if you're straight up cisgender.
Well,
it should be assumed.
It's virtue signaling of the highest order.
Oh, right. This is like that old story I told a couple times on the show about the copy editor that at a virtue signaling operation that wouldn't let them use the word representative. Yes. They had to use the word spokesperson.
Spokeshole. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I think we should start doing that. But I'm going to put crazy pronouns in there.
Well, how about some new pronouns? Who says that we only have to stick to those?
We don't. We're completely free. My pronoun is podcaster.
Okay, podcaster.
All right. Host. Co-host.
Hostess was the mostest.
Did you see Nancy Pelosi having an episode?
What if somebody wanted to... I just edited myself. I'm not going to say it. I think the Nancy Pelosi thing was just so what? It wasn't anything good.
Really? You didn't think of did you get the edited version of her just slurring and saying all kinds of weird stuff? Yeah, she
sounds like she was plastered.
I don't know. Is she plastered or is it just like Alzheimer's? Could it be early onset?
Alzheimer's is a memory failure problem more than it is slurring. I believe. I could be wrong. Maybe Alzheimer's people slur. But she's just like slopping around. This has been going on for years.
Yeah.
And we do know that somebody in the House of Representatives has Alzheimer's, right, and they get this drug delivery of Alzheimer's, but it doesn't necessarily have to be her, but it makes logical sense that it is.
Well, even though you don't think it was all that, I'll play it. It's just a minute.
Last week, soybean futures hit a 9-year low. Soybean futures hit a 9-year low. Pork producers, corn growers, and wheat growers are reeling too. That's so far this week. The Supreme Court's radical Janus decision will have drastic, destructive, and long-standing impacts. They have reduced the leverage of workers in our country. Reduced their leverage for, again, collective bargaining, raised the standard. So here we are. We have a better, this is a raw deal, we have a better deal. But I've also disagreed with Justice Kennedy's interpretation of the Constitution. Make no mistake. 130 million Americans have pre-existing conditions. So our history on this is one.
Was she trying to say provenance, do you think? Our provenance?
I think she was going to say provenance.
Yeah, and then she just said, I can't get it out. History.
Well, I've had trouble saying provenance every once in a while.
Defending Nancy. Nice.
Provenance. Our history on this is one that has been solid.
Here's my favorite.
I appreciate that question. You want to repeat your question because it was in the same line, I think.
Repeat your question now. Come on, that's funny.
Yeah, a lot of people got a kick out of the repeat thing. But the whole thing was leading to that one line. It was just, it never got far enough for my taste.
It was good enough. It was good enough for I like repeat. Repeat that. Well, she didn't have a teleprompter, so I understand. All right, Johnny boy. I think we are probably. It is a show day, so we have to, turn off the show and go rush straight away and see what's going on in the world.
Something.
There's always something going on. You got a last clip for us to play us out here?
Well, I do have the controlled burn clip, which is a 2-minute clip, and it's about a horrible story in Florida. But it's kind of a downer. It's a Debbie Downer story, but I think it's worth playing because they also have. They got to use this CBS. They love to go into the South or someplace where people kind of talk like this, and you don't really, I'll tell you, it was a real bad thing. A dog ran out there, and you got hit by a train there, and you know what I'm telling you there? So they got those guys.
It to be a controlled burn, a fire deliberately set to prevent future wildfires. It ended up burning much more than planned, including dozens of homes in the Florida panhandle town of East Point. Omar Villafranca is there.
Glenn Woodall says he only had minutes to save his pets and himself when the Lime Rock wildfire approached his property.
The fire was in my backyard, so I found the puppy that was in the bedroom in there, and I got it out, and then I didn't have no time to get nothing.
Woodall is one of 36 homeowners in this Franklin County community who lost everything.
And it all got burned up. No stove, refrigerator, the whole 9 yards.
Florida's agriculture commissioner blames a local company that was hired by the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission to conduct a controlled burn. The fire was supposed to only burn 480 acres, but ended up torching more than 800. The company started the controlled burn on June 18th. 6 days later, this East Point neighborhood was engulfed in flames. It took 2 days for the firefighters to control the flames, and still parts of the neighborhood are smoldering.
There should have been somebody out here watching that fire at all times.
In a statement, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission said they have suspended our prescribed fire program statewide, and the Inspector General has begun an investigation. Homeowner Penny Bryant wants the state to pay for everything she lost.
And we hear they don't replace the sheds and stuff like that. That ain't right. That should have to replace everything.
Damage like this is apparent all across this neighborhood. People say the fire popped up as fast as a Florida thunderstorm. And one man told me that he has not heard anything from the state of Florida, and the only people that are helping are the Salvation Army and neighbors. Jeff?
What a story, Omar. Insane to believe that happened. Thank you very much from East Point, Florida.
Yeah, it was a bummer.
Yeah, no kidding.
Wow.
I warned you.
Yeah. Well, then I'll play something fun to get us out. A hit piece.
Oh, a hit piece.
A hit piece a hit piece by the Humane Society.
McDonald's calls them Happy Meals. Or are they more like unhappy meals?
Abuse and suffering that's standard at many factory farms. Animals genetically selected, manipulated to grow too large.
I didn't say uplifting. I said it was funny.
Okay. Sorry.
Hey.
Manipulated to grow too large, too fast. Broken legs. Painful injuries. Crammed into warehouses. Burger King, Subway, and others are fixing these problems. McDonald's can too. Take action at unhappymeals.com.
Oh, God.
Man, those guys they're getting hammered.
Jeez,
Unhappymeals.com. Yeah. All right. Told you it was funny.
It was funny. It was funny, but it was a downer.
It was a downer. Well, what can I do?
I don't know. We need to get more uplifting stories and make it happy news.
Well, I got some happy end of show mixes.
That's good.
CP304. We got Sub 70. Playing some classics for you today. And we will return with you on Thursday for another episode of the best podcast in the universe. Remember us at Dvorak.org/NA. Until then, coming to you from downtown Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State, FEMA Region 6, in all the governmental publications, in the 5x9 Cludio in the common law condo. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where I say, get out of Vietnam, I'm John C. Dvorak.
And happy Canada Day. And I need a cab, John. Until Thursday, adios, mofos!
People get pregnant in all kinds of ways. Yes. And the people cannot always afford to have the child that they are pregnant with. Yes. If you have an issue, come to me. Come to me. Yes. Nobody, not even God. God says, come to me. Yes. Get out of my vagina! We came, we saw, and died.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Hello, everybody. No.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Oh, there's no winning. We don't like to foster a competitive atmosphere, but we laugh a lot. Now everyone hug and share a secret.
We just need cash. I know a lot of people want to send blankets or water. Just send your cash.
Whoa,
Amen. Fist bump.
Come on. Come on.
When I first started college, when I went running, after 5 minutes, I'd start feeling a burning in my chest. And it was just me sucking in soot and smog. The smog was so bad, it was like, you might die.
Barack is an emissary of the devil, but you know that he's black, and that's all you want to know. I said this is blatant racism. It is destroying the dream. It is anti-Dr. King. You African, you Jesse Jackson, you process head Al Sharpton, you are wicked. You are cursed. Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Donate to No Agenda. They give ushers week after week. Donate to No Agenda. It's a show that's really unique. Donate to No Agenda. Listen to John and Adam speak. Donate to No Agenda. Science is turning into a clique.
The best podcast in the universe.
Mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.